feel like I do the little happy claps every time we start this.
Because you're excited to
I
tell
am,
me
I
about
am.
all of this, yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Lorecast, the things you didn't know but probably should know. I'm your host, Marvel.
And I'm Logan, the special guest.
Yes, this is my specialist guest. We're in, this should be the last part of the main series, so we've dressed up for it with our closet cosplays. We have, Logan as Technoblade, and then I have done, Miss Trixton or Mumza.
Phil's wife.
Phil's wife! I admire that woman so much.
Mm.
Okay, wait. Lore accurate height difference.
Goddamn.
The rare time I will ever be taller than Logan. I have to gloat in this.
I will sit down, please.
Okay. Oh, alright. We are currently 32 out of 88 pages through this.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're almost like halfway with this.
Mhm.
This is a long journey.
Alright. So last time we left off, Dream is still in prison. Wilbur got revived and Ghostbur got sent to limbo. Tommy got died and revived. Rambo and Tubbo got married. The Eggpire started their trials and tribulations. And, yeah, that's kind of where we left it. We started Quackity's Lost Nevada series.
I think we were on part 2.
Yes,
Well,
we finished episode 2 of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, let's get into it. So Wilbur is back. Revived from the dead, free from limbo, and with time dilation, he was in limbo, from his perspective, for like 13 and a half years or something. And his, that hasn't done much favors for his sanity. He was already struggling, already kind of falling into that mania, and just that 13 years of isolation and a monotonous life has made him much, much worse. In a way where he has a full-on fractured mind that, like, he kind of needs to be hospitalized for. Can we not just leave this man out in the open? But we also see this develop in a few new habits for him. So before, Wilbur had very self-destructive, even suicidal tendencies, and now it's almost become a sort of masochism, where he's just actively picking at fights and at people to see if he can get a reaction, if he can feel something again, after being dead for so long.
Holy.
I've also seen some really interesting headcanons that when you get revived, especially in Wilbur's case, because it was like through his ghost or then his body, and he'd been dead so long that like the nerve endings in his body didn't fully connect. So there's been some things where like it's like numb to him, where he can't feel things properly, hence why he would seek things like pain or be more sensitive to things like cold. So I've seen some few things like that. So he's back in the ruins of L'Manberg with bench trio there to witness it. And this is kind of... Dream said before that his ploy to escape prison was going to be using Wilbur. He wanted to use Wilbur's help for this. And as a bonus, it's just an extra torture method for Tommy. Like he said, Dream has this like fascination and hyperfixation on Tommy. And like he said in the finale of season 2, he's not going to kill Tommy. He just wants to break him. Just so he'll stay right there. So this seems to be his new method. And we actually get a little talk on how Tommy feels about this. Because while exploring L'Manberg with Foolish, these two share a conversation, and I actually have the transcript of the conversation.
Oh.
This probably won't be in the correct cadence because I'm going to be reading it, but I'll go through it with you. And this talk is kind of where Foolish and Tommy really get to know each other as they go through the past events, Wilbur, Tommy's own emotions and worldview. And the reason I wanted to include this is because I feel like it's so important to Tommy's character. the way it displayed his maturity and complexity. So it's a bit of a shortened version of their talk. So we have Foolish starting with, so, Wilbur's back. You don't like that he's back? Weren't you guys friends at some point? Listen, let me show you something. Alright? I'm going to head to the Lemannberg ruins, which is now fully infested by the blood vines from the egg. And Tommy goes on, and he's like, you see this? Right? Lemannberg. It was Wilbur's nation, and he decided that and he doesn't mean this, but even though at that time, when we made this, it was to get away from Dream, because Dream wouldn't let us do what we wanted to. We made a nation, and it was glorious. It was amazing. Then we held an election. Now, the problem with an election is it kind of puts all your life on the line, which can be good if you're confident, but perhaps we were a little overconfident. And because of that, Foolish, well, we lost, and Schlatt banished us. Now, we were okay. I was okay when we were banished, but I knew we'd get it all back, and we'd talk about it, right? As you said, peace is the option. Uh-huh. But here's the thing, Foolish. Wilbur didn't want to do any more talking. He'd given up with that, because some people aren't strong enough, right? Some people stop talking. You know the phrase, treat others how you want to be treated, Foolish? Wilbur disregarded that rule. He decided he wanted to be treated poorly, so he'd treat everyone else poorly. Why do you think that? Honestly, sometimes I don't know myself. But this block here, and he points at a TNT, he used this, and he blew up the Lemannberg and shattered it into a million pieces. Now, Wilbur, he was a good man. He is a good man. Deep inside him, alright? But he's been a bad guy for a very, very long time. And I know that there's still good in him. There's still good in everyone, really, Foolish. Do you believe in second chances? No, I don't. I don't really believe... that's not a thing for me, Foolish. It's just that I believe everyone's got a little bit of good in them. And I know that Wilbur had good in him. He claimed to be Foolish, the nation we, and like he slams his hand into the wall, that we built together. He claimed it was all just a ruse for power. No, I think Wilbur's just being a bad guy. And that's okay. We're all bad guys. Everyone messes up. You learn the most from your mistakes. What this is going to be about isn't about giving him a second chance. It is about giving him a third chance. It's not about chances. It's about making sure you don't give up on the people you care about. Don't give up on people. And Foolish, this is the first time he's had a proper talk with Tommy, and he's a little treat, and he's like...
So mature.
Right? He's like, I think I had you wrong. You're a little bit more mature than I thought you would be. Maybe there's more to you, Tommy, than I thought.
Said.
And Tommy's just like, thanks, I guess.
Damn, okay.
Maybe there's more to you, too. Oh, there's so much. Do you consider yourself to be the good guy or the bad guy? Well, that really depends on who you ask, doesn't it? If you ask Dream, he'd say I'm his little toy that he plays with. I used to consider myself a good guy, but recently, these past 6 months or so, before it was us fighting the bad guys. But it was also so clear. It's not been clear for so long now, so I don't know. And Foolish kind of goes through and he's like, well, seems like you've been the hero, you've been the villain, the conqueror, the savior. And even now I still have no idea exactly what you are. And Tommy looks at him and he's like, that's up to you to decide, isn't it?
What?
These days I'm a lot weaker than I used to be. I'm not who I want to be. And like, that I feel like adds so much to Tommy's character, just that simple talk there. where, like, he is paying attention, he is noticing these things. It's just people aren't listening. He rarely gets the chance to actually talk.
And Foolish is giving him the opportunity to actually talk like that. Oh my.
Yeah.
Aww.
And then we reach a little section I have titled, "To Enderwalk or not to Enderwalk? That is the question."
To be or to not to be.
Yep, so we're checking in on our boy Rambo.
Yay.
Once more. This is kind of like a little bit after Wilbur's revival. And during Rambo's experimentations with Enderwalk, he thought of a way where he could possibly control it. However, it would involve him being submerged in water. If the results went well, then hopefully Enderwalk would completely disappear, as it seemed to be a dangerous state of mind to remain active. However, Logan, there's something I have to admit.
What could that be?
I have been lying to you.
About?
Enderwalk.
Oh no.
See,
You say this now.
If this experiment goes wrong, if it doesn't go the way Rambo intends, he could end up in the Enderwalk state permanently.
How?
Well, it could go one of two ways when he submerges himself. It's gonna be like almost a battle of his two minds, whether or not Enderwalk, this state he doesn't remember, takes full control, or he does.
Wow.
Yeah. But this is the part where I've been lying to you, because here's the thing Rambo discovered in his experiments. He is the anomaly, not Enderwalk. See, Enderwalk is described not as sleepwalking, not as a different person or a split personality, but as, and I quote, Rambo with all his memories. Enderwalk is who he really is. It's all the things he can't remember. Which makes me so curious, because what is it that he doesn't know that flips his entire moral compass on its head? And I don't think we actually ever find out about that. Like, what exactly
It just ends up
is going on. There was an ARG that I looked into where there's a character titled Z that talks to him every now and then, but that never really led anywhere. We didn't get many answers. He still has, so Enderwalk still has all his emotions and morality, but if so, why is he helping Dream? And what is he not remembering that would cause him to change so drastically? And he kind of decides that, like, to leave it be. For now, the experiment isn't worth it. If there's a chance he may completely disappear. Right. And once again, putting Wilbur on hold, we will get to him, I promise. But we're gonna check in on my buddy Q with Las Nevadas episode 3. Yeah, we're not leaving him for long. I love him.
There's still more to
Love
come.
him. Right, so Quackity has continued his visits with Dream, repeating the process of interrogation and torture, with Dream progressively being more docile and afraid. I mean, get the stab enough times, I imagine. Yeah, you'd start being nice.
Huh.
I know they want us to feel bad for him. I just can't. You're taste of your own medicine, buddy.
Oh.
Taste of your own medicine. Okay, like, maybe don't torture people, but I don't have that sense of morality. And Quackity, he's getting bored with the lack of progress, especially since he's busy working on Las Nevadas. And he begins asking about Dream's relationship with Techno, when they last saw each other.
Does this have to do with
the
fact
favor
that the favor
that Techno hasn't cashed in, right? And he asks Dream to write a note to Techno, telling him to visit. And Dream is reluctant and confused, even asking if he can write to Sapnap instead, because he quite misses his friend.
I don't know if Sapnap misses Dream.
I don't know.
No.
And which enrages Q, so he threatens to kill Dream, restating his boredom and disappointment with their lack of process, as well as his declining interest in the revival book. He now just tortures Dream as a punishment for his actions, as a reminder of what he's done. Dream accuses Quackity of that, like, you just like torturing me, don't you? And Q's like, yeah, I do. Flat out admits he just likes doing this.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Dream anyways.
I know they want us to feel bad for Dream here. I don't.
No.
And when Dream refuses to write the note to Techno, Quackity slams his axe into the wall next to Dream's head, cutting him several times before Dream eventually agrees.
Thank you.
And we cut away from that scene now. And we open with this text. Easy job, no innocence, easy reward, big money, peaceful heist. And we now see a village burning with, presumably, Foolish standing among the wreckage.
What?
And then it cuts to Sam and Quackity at some random restaurant in present time, somewhere within Las Nevadas. The two are discussing Las Nevadas, who to recruit. Sam said they thought they were recruiting the Kanoko Kingdom members, George, Sapnath, Carl. And the conversation goes mute before suddenly coming back to volume as Q tells Sam that whatever joke he made wasn't funny. Q then recommends Foolish, but Sam immediately shoots this down. See, Q thinks Foolish would be perfect, a peaceful man with a warrior's history, but Sam refutes, saying Foolish has a violent history, that he's not a good person, hot-headed even, and mentions an accident with numerous casualties. But Q continues, because Las Nevadas, this project is gonna get them a lot of enemies. So might as well have someone like Foolish on their side, in case they ever need to, bring him out of retirement. And we cut to Q waddling his way over to Foolish's little summer home to recruit him. Alright, tiny duck boy goes to visit tall shark boy. And quack, quack, quack. What's the one song? And the duck quacked up to the lemonade stand.
Hey, bum, bum.
Got any grapes? That's what's going on here.
Oh.
Now, Foolish doesn't consider himself a part of any nation. He's more just a contractor, building things, and he once again brings up Kanoko Kingdom, which he was commissioned to help build, but Q sternly changes the subject. Q tells Foolish about Las Nevadas and tries to convince him to join, and Foolish, well, very flattered, must decline. He says he likes peace and quiet, and Las Nevadas does not sound like that kind of place. And Q, however, disagrees, saying that kind of chaos is where Foolish would thrive. After all, he's looked pretty far back into Foolish's history. And Foolish gets a little tense at that, once again refusing the offer. So, Q changes his tune. He offers to buy Foolish's summer home. Just like, I'll buy it, it'll kind of be part of Las Nevadas, you can still live here, but like, you'll join us. Okay, and Foolish, he's like, dude, you wouldn't be able to afford this place. Right, and he lists, like, some of the valuable materials he used to build it, which, seriously, his build in his summer home is insane. It's so cool. I'll have to show you pictures or something.
Is that why Tubbo and Rambu commissioned
to
make a mansion?
Yeah, they're like, yo, Foolish, we hear you're a great builder. Like, this... He's used some expensive materials, bro.
Expensive.
And Q is just amused, and he says that in his opinion, this summer home is worth a single diamond.
A single diamond.
And I have a quote here for you of what he says to Foolish. And he says, you spend so many hours, so much work so much of yourself to building this place. That's all it is. It's just a build. No one comes here. No one has a house here. No one stays here. People really just come to admire and then leave, Foolish. This is an empty shell, alright? It looks beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, it's decaying. It's gonna disappear in time, and no one is really gonna remember it. That's why it has the value of 1 diamond to me. And you know what this build reminds me of, Foolish? It reminds me of you. This build reminds me of you, Foolish. You used to be big. You used to be great with everything you did, and now you're nothing but an empty shell. You are to be feared from the outside, but on the inside, everyone knows you're just a builder.
Bro.
Right.
Are you dead
you?
ass? Oh
damn.
my gosh.
My fault, I was not aware of your game. And Quacky admits that he could have stepped in earlier during the Red Banquet and prevented Foolish from dying. But he didn't. See, he wanted Foolish dead because he hoped it would make him realize, well, how foolish he was being. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it. Okay. He could live his entire life in peace, but it will do nothing, change nothing, save no one. A first-hand experience would fix that. Foolish, however, still declines and even threatens to kill Q. Alright, he is content to waste away his self-worth, as Q puts it. And Q, he backs off and he leaves. We get a little chapter 2 in episode 3, where this is kind of a longer one, so it's split into parts.
Okay.
And chapter 2 of episode 3 begins with an old-fashioned infomercial about slime within Dream SMP. It explains that slimes have roamed the land for centuries, which are bouncy and cube-shaped hostile mobs that sometimes spawn in swamp biomes and occasionally deep underground in particular chunks, of which the infomercial shows a slime underneath a gravestone of Tommy.
What?
Damn. The infomercial continues, saying slimes may seem insignificant at first, but have a defense system that makes them no easy target. Slimes can also change their form, and can be anything around you. However, the infomercial reassures you that the only way slimes can evolutionize is through arduous adaptation of their environment. The last slime detected morphing into something else was a birch sapling in the middle of a desert biome, so you don't have to worry about the slime around you. And that type of slime is rare. Unless... And it cuts back to Q.
That's it?
That's it.
Bro.
That's your infomercial about slimes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Weird.
And Q, for some reason, is in a cloak and masked. Well, he breaks into his own restaurant, the one he met Sam in, and we see him place several TNT, muttering about human psychosis and gambling. While breaking through the walls, he finds a person inside the walls. Freaked out, Quackity just knocks him out, ties him up, and proceeds to drag him into the middle of a tundra. And when the young man he found in the walls wakes up, the interrogation begins. Alright, interestingly, the young man he found knows exactly who Q is despite the mask, calling him Quackity of Las Nevadas. He also states that he is most definitely a human and has 300 bones to prove it.
300? No.
Q asks him what he knows, and the young, definitely human man begins rambling. He saw Q go into the restaurant, which makes no sense, heard him rambling, and claims once again he is a human and not a piece of goo that crawled to the surface over 100 years ago. He also claims he heard about Q blowing up some purple guy's UFO, to which Q begins to freak and considers just murdering him for rethinking. And, if you haven't quite put together...
No, I put it
who
together
this is
already.
yet.
I was like, your head is covering it.
Yeah, introducing Slime, who's gonna be a reoccurring character in the Last Nevada series, and here's a little fandom interpretation.
He's a human.
So Slime is here! Definitely human. His name just happens to be Slime. For no reason.
Slime the human.
Slime the human.
Yeah.
And Quackity asks where else and who else this person, who we know as Slime, knows about. The definitely not a shape-shifting Slime mentions Foolish, and how he seemed sad as well as a blonde kid in a red and white shirt. Oh, and a man who is dead but isn't anymore. And he has a little smiley face.
Oh, how much does he know?
When asked to describe who the third person was, Slime gives a few adjectives such as ashy or sooty. Realizing that this guy makes one hell of an accidental spy, Q proceeds to make several bold-faced lies.
What?
This interrogation was not an interrogation, no. This was just a formal greeting. And a spy is a friend who is really nice to people and gets to know them. And by the way, they are most definitely friends now. Yes!
Are you gaslighting this poor little guy? Oh.
Surprisingly, the gaslighting works, and Slime believes every single word he says.
No!
And now we cut to 1 week before the Red Banquet. So we're kind of jumping back and forth in time in this episode.
I'm pretty sure, like, Lost Nevadas does, like, jump back and forth.
Yeah, it has a
timeline.
Right.
This little fun series.
So we once again see Q and Sam talking, this time on the Prime Path, as they discuss getting purpled to join Las Nevadas. But Sam is skeptical. No one has seen him for months, and most assume he's dead. And mid-conversation, we get a flash to Purple's destroyed UFO. Before it continues, Q says he has a plan to draw Purple out. And we cut to Q climbing into Purple's UFO while Sam stands on the roof of Air's museum. Sam informs him that this is a terrible idea and very much illegal, and Quackity tells him to chill out and turn a blind eye, okay? You can't arrest me for what you don't see. Right, and he begins placing explosives within Purple's UFO. Lo and behold, Purple shows up. Very much not missing and not dead. At first, he is livid, but Q just explains he just wanted to draw Purple out of hiding, okay? He wasn't gonna actually do anything, and they reach a truce. And Q, he proposes a job to Purple to gain his help during the Red Banquet. Now, like as I mentioned before, in the Red Banquet, Q showed up with Purple in tow. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, when they broke in with Technoblade and all that.
Yes.
Now, Purple works for the money, and the money only. He's a lot like Puns in that regard. And at first he refuses, because Bad had already approached him with a similar job for opposite reasons. You know, Q, however, he's like, I can buy out Bad, okay? Don't worry about it. And Purple eventually agrees. So the Red Banquet goes through without a hitch, and the two meet up once more to discuss and trade the money. And Purple, after double checking everything, you know, you gotta check the receipts, right? Says that it's all in order, and that is until Q flips a switch and blows up his UFO. Because that was still rigged with TNT. And, can we talk about how effed up that is?
Mm-hmm.
Purple is the only alien, like straight up from another planet, on this server, and you just blew up his only way back home?
Now he's stuck here.
Yeah, then like the isolation of that, like, dude. And Q then offers Purple to join Las Nevadas, both a threat and now one of his only means to regain the lost UFO. Purple refuses and simply heads toward the wreckage. Right? Q, what the hell, man?
All because he wanted people to come to Las Nevadas.
Bro, just talk to Tommy. Okay? He likes women. He'd be down.
I'm pretty sure he likes to gamble.
He'd probably like to gamble. We do not encourage underage gambling. He would probably like to gamble.
Yeah.
Now, the next scene we get is a Fundy. Now, we haven't talked about him in a very long time.
He was just like in the background.
Yeah, see, after the events of everything, he has retreated into the forest, alright, trying to live his days in peace. And you know, it pretty much works that way. His days are calm and normal until one night he falls asleep. When he wakes up, he opens his door and notices that he is distinctly not in the forest. And Q is standing in the doorway.
What?
The two talk and go on a walk, and Q rambles on about their shared moments from the election to the Red Festival to the fall of L'Manberg, during which they pass through the old L'Manberg and even the old van, to which Fundy is immensely confused because as far as he knows, none of this should still exist. Q, however, just says it's always been there. As they continue talking and moving, they enter a tower Eryn had built, now partially destroyed, and Q's tone shifts from light-hearted and complimentary to an almost wistful certainty. His memories, these places, it never mattered, nor will it ever. It's all gone anyway. It means nothing. Fundy means nothing. But it doesn't have to be that way. Fundy means nothing, but he can be something. If he just joins Q. Fundy is apprehensive and skeptical of what Quackity's offering him.
As he should.
But as Quackity starts to count down from 10, they walk toward each other from across the tower, and as they touch, Fundy wakes up. Back in his bed, back in the forest, and Q is knocking at the door. So that was a wacky, dream sequence he had.
What did
Almost
Q,
like foreboding Q coming to offer him a job.
What did Q do? He must have done something.
I don't know if he did anything or if Fundy is weird mystical fox man.
Oh.
I don't know what was going on there. At the end of all of this, Foolish, Purple, whose photo isn't up here, and Fundy all later agree to join Las Nevadas, as well as Slime,
Of course.
which definitely was chosen as his name for no reason, and he is still definitely a human. And episode 3 ends with Wilbur standing among his own memorial as he reads the note Q had left behind. We then cut to him standing in front of Las Nevadas and walking down the path toward Q.
Oh my.
And in my notes, in all caps, I have beginning of toxic Yaoi! Yay, 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 yay!
Wait, you titled it that. I mean, you
We'll get into the toxic
commented that.
Yaoi later.
Oh.
Yes, we're once again putting Q on hold. But we are touching on Wilbur now.
Oh,
Now, a little fun
go
fact
back to
here.
Wilbur.
Reviver, I believe, canonically smokes, and Tommy despises it. That's just a little fun add-on for you. See, after his revival, Wilbur wasted no time getting to work. He did attempt to apologize to Tommy and asked if Tommy could show him around so he could see what he missed. And Tommy is apprehensive but agrees. And as they walk, they briefly touch on Tommy's exile. And unlike Ghostbur, who could not remember anything of his alive counterpart, Wilbur could very much remember everything that his ghost counterpart did and witnessed. And he expresses outrage, and that he would very much like to beat the shit out of Dream if he could when he witnessed that.
Oh.
But he also says that there's no need for that now. His views on Dream have changed. Right? After all, Dream is sort of his savior, the one who dragged him out of limbo and back to the overworld. Tommy tries to rebuttal Wilbur's change of heart, but he's talked over and ignored. Wilbur also kind of goes around in an apology tour, briefly apologizing to Jack and Skeppy as well, who he had a little scuffle with a while back. And Wilbur tells Tommy that he has made an oath of not lying, and that he didn't care about L'Manberg. And it was not about L'Manberg, it was more just the idea of sticking it to the man. Right? He explained while they walked that he did care for the ideals of L'Manberg, but not the specifics. And he voiced that he moved past it. He loved Tommy like a little brother, and they were family. But they're not now. They're just friends.
Ouch.
My pain. My pain.
Poor boy. The hell?
And, curious. about another member of the server he's really only gotten to know through Ghostbird's memories. Wilbur expressed his interest in meeting Rambo.
Oh.
There was a brief apology for his actions while he was alive before he asked Rambo about his allegiances. Rambo replied that he really had none, not to a government or nation at least, to which Wilbur asked if that was really his stance or if he was just playing friends to get ahead. He almost seemed to regret questioning Rambo, like muttering about his own social skills before cutting himself off. So while Wilbur does suffer from some level of mania and insanity, and he does have these hateful bouts of attitude, he's also entirely self-aware of his own declining mental state and that he is not a good person, and that on a meta level, it starts to feed into his own decline, where he knows he is wrong, he knows he's hurting people, and he can't quite figure out how to stop. And that just cycles into his guilt and shame. He claims that Rambo's philosophies only work in a perfect world without war, to which Rambo says that things were really quite peaceful after Wilbur was dead.
Ow.
Despite taking offense by this, Wilbur backs down and leaves, though he later voices his frustrations and describes Rambo as his polar opposite. Frustrated after basically being talked over, dismissed, and ignored the entire time, Tommy starts calling Wilbur out. And Wilbur proposes a fight to settle their differences, okay? You know what? Let's duke it out. Let's have it out. And he does lose, but he's still happy, stating that in the grand scheme of things, the moment he pressed the button, he won.
In
Tommy-
his view, he did.
Yeah, Tommy once again tries to pipe up, but was interrupted when Wilbur declared that he should go to see Phil and thank him for killing him.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Wilbur's on his own schedule, okay? He's has his own gay agenda, and he is not sacrificing any time for Tommy.
To Phil.
He's going to Phil to thank him for
Phil
aiding
doesn't
his
even know that
suicide.
he's alive too. Oh hell no.
Well, Rambo did
wait.
tell him.
Oh,
So he's
okay,
aware. He's aware.
He's aware, but now he's
very well.
he's gonna-
And while there, while he's made his way to Phil's cabin, Phil did mention Wilbur lying to him in the letters he sent. But, Wilbur only stated that it was because he didn't want Phil upset. He went on about being a changed man. Tommy called him an asshole, and Wilbur went, yeah, I kind of am. He agrees.
He accepts.
Wilbur did mention that, he had a few plans now that he was back. And he enlisted Tommy and Phil to help him get some stone. After which, Wilbur wandered off on his own, exploring what was left of L'Manberg and going down to the ruins, finding his own memorial and the note Hugh had left for him.
Oh, so
now we've kind of circled back. Now this is where we get to the arc I have titled Toxic Yaoi.
So it's about Q and
Yeah,
Wilbur.
we're
going
talking
back
about
to Toxic Yaoi.
Toxic Yaoi. These two are actually called TNT Duo, so you can guess what their relationship is like.
Dynamite.
No, in like a separate stream between these two where they had were hanging out in Wilbur's office drinking wine together.
What?
Quackly states, he was like, by the way, I never planned for my character to forgive yours for anything he did.
Oh.
And Wilbur mentions, he was like, nah, Wilbur, as a character, he kind of needs that. Quackity was the fuel to his fire. Wilbur needed him to keep going. And this is where we get fully into what exactly they meant by that.
Oh no.
See, upon asking Tommy about this Las Navatas he was hearing about, Tom explained to him that it was a city/nation Q had been working on, but he hadn't really visited it before. Intrigued, the two of them head out to go give it a proper look. Since most people reacted negatively to his revival, Wilbur expected the same thing from Q. And during the talk, Wilbur expects the same thing to Q, but Q greets him quite enthusiastically, and he's like, "Dude, welcome! Okay, you're back!" And during their talk together, Wilbur mentioned an interest in joining Las Nevadas. If Quackity could need some help, after all, Wilbur has run a nation before. While it may have ended badly, he was handling it just fine when he was in the seat of power. And Q immediately and quite sternly shoots this down. Right? And after attempting a few more times and receiving rejection again and again, he called Q petty and decided that this little part of land that Quackity hadn't finished building on, yeah, that's his now. Wilbur writes his name on it, and he's like, just to spite you, that little square, mine.
Insane. Okay.
Right. And to which these two kind of start a half-serious rivalry over the neighboring nations, right? And
they draw a line on the ground.
Yeah.
You see this line? Do not cross.
Do not cross this line. And unlike with Wilbur, Q is very open and willing to have Tommy join Las Nevadas. Okay, even actively trying to persuade him to join. Where he's like, you know what, kid, you've been through a lot, but I did things for this place. If you want to stay here, if you want to join, you wouldn't even really have to do anything. You are more than welcome. And Wilbur, at first, was fine with this, even allowing Tommy to walk off with Q alone, but he quickly grew worried and antsy, expressing high anxiety and frustration over the idea of Tommy possibly being hurt while he was alone with Q.
Aww.
When Tommy returned from Q's attempted job offer, Wilbur said that he really wasn't trying to start anything. He wasn't trying to start a fight. He just wanted somewhere they could be safe. That Tommy was all he had, and he deserved safety. And despite Wilbur's personality change and his decline in mental state, the one thing that remains startlingly clear is above all else, he values Tommy's safety and happiness. He just no longer has the mental capacity to express it properly, using manipulation and guilt-tripping Tommy just to keep him by his side. Despite his hateful and cruel words, and we kind of see this in Pogtopia, despite him yelling at Tommy and trying to isolate him, it is all in a weird, twisted way to keep him safe. And it reminds me very much of, God, I don't remember the name of the song, but there was a line where it says, "Did you ever hear about that mother? Broke her daughter's legs in two and said it's too dangerous out there to walk, so I had to save you."
Oh, I don't know.
So he's physically, or trying to manipulate and guilt trip Tommy, holding him back, isolating him, because the world is so dangerous and so scary, and Tommy has been through so much that he just wants to keep him safe, and if that means locking him up to do that, he's gonna do that. It's a weird, twisted affection for his little brother.
Possessive much?
Yeah, in a way it is.
Much?
And Tommy agrees that he doesn't want things to blow up again, literally. And he did say that he refused Quackity's job offer. He is going to stay with Wilbur, and they're going to figure this out together. Okay? Like they've always done. The two build a little HQ near Las Nevadas, and this little joke rivalry continues. They taunt Quackity, building things, griefing his base, poking at him. And during this, Tommy's watching Wilbur and Quackity interact, and he's just pulls Wilbur aside and asks if he has a crush on Quackity, to which Wilbur describes the relationship as complicated, but they're not at that level yet.
Yet?
No way, Tommy says yet. Tommy's is this flirting?
Are you gay?
Are you gay?
You one of them queers.
Bruh.
Oh.
But no, and there was actually, at one point when he's arguing with Quackity, and they're yelling, they're shouting at each other, And, you know, Cracky tells him to fuck off, and Wilbur walks away, and he turns to Tommy and goes, God, that was so cool. I was gonna say it was hot. And we're like, okay, you masochist. Damn.
You masochist.
Again, like, particularly he finds Quacky's harshness attractive. So, aka, he would really like Q to yell at him more, hence him continually provoking him.
So he's rage baiting him.
He's rage baiting him.
Pleasure.
Yes.
Oh.
And during their little play fighting, Wilbur and Q start to devolve into a genuine argument. Where all this has kind of been joking and like, you know, like it's all kind of in good fun here. They start actually spitting vitriol at each other. Right? And they shout at each other over things that happened in the past, particularly the election and Pogotopia. However, the two stopped when they realized Tommy had fallen silent. As their arguing seemed to have triggered some part of Tommy's trauma, where he's just, like, not reacting to anything, and they immediately mellow out. They apologize for shouting, and Quacky's like, you know what, why don't I give you two a proper tour of Las Nevadas? Okay, because he hasn't really let them inside.
I don't think I don't think you explained how Las Nevadas actually looks in this world.
It's basically Las Vegas. Like, you know the Strip?
Yeah. Oh,
You've got it.
Okay.
You've got it.
Okay.
Okay,
I've
like
seen
he has
photos.
like a version of the stratosphere, I think, that he calls the needle. And we'll get into a few more places in this. So during the tour, Quacky reiterates that Tommy was welcome to do whatever he pleased here. He could come and go. Just, you know, as long as he had someone watching him, especially since several parts of Las Nevadas were a little too adult for Tommy. And he did have to pointedly lead them away from a strip club. Where Tommy's just like, what's that? Nothing, child.
Did you say that Tommy went to a gay club?
Yeah, no, we were looking, like, there was a post about that.
The real life little experience of Tommy and Tubbo, right?
Yeah, it was like Tommy, Tubbo, there were a few others in the photo. You know what, good for you, Tommy in it. Where did I leave off? And Tommy did seem to kind of relax and ease up after his tenseness before. And eventually, Q leads them to the top of what I think is either like a replica of the stratosphere, I think. I haven't really seen pictures, so I'd have to look at it again.
You mean that skinny tall tower?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
And during which, while Quacky and Wilbur are kind of talking in the back, Tommy leans off the railing and makes a joke, saying, this would be a good place to just jump off and end it all. To which Wilbur flies into a panic and, like, has him get down. And when, so they're like, Tommy, no, away from the edge, child.
Sometimes I play like that. I'm like, I wonder how long it takes for me to fall from here. Like, how many seconds?
Tommy, no.
Until I splat.
Tommy, please. And when prompted by Q, Wilbur admits that he does like the view, and compares it to the views they used to have in Lomanberg, as well as telling Q about how he swapped with Ghost Burr in the prison, like when he was revived. And when asked about his revival, there was a brief interruption when Tommy almost falls off the railing and is once again dragged back from the edge by a very panicked Q and Wilbur. Seems the only thing they can agree on is Tommy's safety. And these two, while sitting together, Tommy now pointedly next to them, they're like, you're not going anywhere. They ease into reminiscing and even bring up their past conversation during the election, which we heard about in a previous Las Nevadas episode.
Right, I think it was like either 1 or 2.
Right, and when Q offers to pick at Wilbur's brain again, Wilbur grows a bit unnerved. He talked about his isolation, and how he'd essentially lost everything he'd ever known, and everyone he's ever loved. Q presses again about his revival, and Wilbur admits that Dream brought him back, as well as his idolization of the Green Man. Q admits that he had been visiting Dream, in prison, to which Wilbur, who did not know you could go visit the prison, like, wait, that's an option?
Yeah, because Sam's not
Sam,
letting people, like, visit like that.
He immediately expresses his interest in seeing Dream, despite Tommy's protests and fears. And now we reach an arc I call The Boys Are Bonding.
Which is Wilbur
Wilbur, of course, was not allowed to visit Dream because Sam isn't letting anyone in. But he continues his quest to make Quackity pay attention to him, and decides the best way to do this is with a burger van, because why not?
Burger van.
Okay, it's man in the habit of building vans.
Street food.
And initially, he asks Phil for help, but Phil is like, you know what, this isn't really my thing. But he recommends Rambo for the job, and Wilbur expresses his dislike of Rambo, and Phil tells him to play nice or risk getting kicked out.
Wow, so Phil doesn't want to bond with his son now. I see how it is.
He's making Wilbur play with the awkward neighborhood kid. Like, you need friends, go be nice to him. And Rambo, he does agree to help out with the burger van, and the two share a conversation. Wilbur asks Rambo about the new nations, Rambo's personal likes and dislikes of people, as well as commenting about Rambo being pretty involved with all the conflicts despite his peaceful views, before eventually getting around to what he really wanted to ask. Why did Rambo agree to help him? And Rambo just said that Wilbur didn't seem to be as bad as everyone believed, to which Wilbur genuinely tears up and has to look away before admitting he feels like most people are scared of him and worried he'll crash and burn like he did before. His opinion of Rambo has changed to a more positive one and compares their mutual level of anxiety.
Aww.
Though he did say that Rambo was braver than him in that regard. He asks Rambo's opinion of Tommy and agreed wholeheartedly when Rambo said that he held Tommy in very high regard. So, like, Wilbur's like, what's your opinion of Tommy? Oh, I quite like him. I agree, you're my new favorite. Okay, Wilbur likes you depending on how much you like Tommy. They also, kind of blow up a small part of Quackity Street, vandalize one of the restaurants inside Las Nevadas, but Wilbur does leave a little apology chest with some diamonds there. Again, he's not really looking to pick a fight or like start a war. He just would really like Quackity to come pay attention to him. And later, while walking over the crater of L'Manberg, Rambo and Wilbur run into Tubbo. To which Wilbur excitedly greets him and does apologize for the hell he must have put Tubbo through after he was made president. Tubbo fills Wilbur in about Doomsday, to which Wilbur is surprised. Not that Doomsday happened, but that Tubbo had tried to rebuild the city at all. Wilbur invites him to join, the burger van endeavor, but Tubbo firmly denies and openly states he does not trust Wilbur as far as he can throw him.
Oh.
Right, and discouraged but understanding, Wilbur takes his leave with Rambo following behind him. Wilbur admits that despite his oath of not lying, he did lie to Tommy when he told him that he didn't care for L'Manberg. In fact, the city was a major emotional attachment for him, and that's why he lied. He thought caring made him weak, and he also admitted to appreciating Rambo's company. While Wilbur adored Tommy and liked having the blonde around, it reminded him of Pogtopia, where Wilbur describes himself as being a sick man. So, like, almost the reason he's distancing himself from Tommy is because he knows what happened last time. Knows that he was the one causing Tommy pain and is now trying to distance it before.
Because of the fear that he'll,
hurt him again.
Yeah.
Again, that self-awareness, despite... Wilbur does have one of, I think... I'm not sure how well I'm explaining it here in these Lorecast episodes, but he has one of, I think, the coolest Fall of the Hero arcs, where he starts as such a good man and you get to actually see his decline. It's, Again, I don't like the real person, but I do love how the character is written. And he feels regret for the way he treated Tommy. He asks again why Rambo would help him. And Rambo simply said he knew what it was like to feel alone. While they continue working on their impromptu business, they finally get Q's reaction to everything. He openly compliments their business and their burger van and their work before leading them inside Las Nevadas to the restaurant they had previously vandalized, which I believe was the same one him and Sam were meeting up in.
What a restaurant that was.
Yeah. And rather than being upset at them vandalizing it, he thanks Wilbur for the incentive to upgrade and establishes it as a burger restaurant. And oh, by the way, Tubbo's the manager. So they're now starting just like a burger fast food joint fight.
What's going
where
on?
Rambo's helping out Wilbur and Tubbo is helping out Quackity. Neither of them know these two are married, by the way.
Oh, it's still like a secret marriage.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows Michael.
Yeah, like Tommy and Phil, I think, are the only ones who really know. Alright, and Wilbur and Q bicker back and forth while pretending to compliment each other before Wilbur and Rambo take their leave.
Rip you two, Jesus.
Right?
Nah.
Stop! Oh my god. And interestingly, Wilbur doesn't feel upset or frustrated, no. He tells Rambo that he feels alive. He knew Quackity wouldn't take his game sitting down. He knew Q would take the bait and play with him, and he's euphoric that he finally has Q's attention again. And Rambo is admittedly concerned, but doesn't mention it much. He does hide his relationship with Tubbo, calling it a business relationship. So basically this entire time while Q and Wilbur are arguing, Rambo and Tubbo are basically treating this like a date.
Okay.
Let me see. Also, a little quick note here. Rambo may or may not have built a secret room under one of the casinos, and Wilbur may or may not have rigged it with TNT. Any guesses how this is gonna go? And there was actually, I don't know when this is, but Wilbur has an insane quote where he's talking shit to Quackity, and he says, and he's like, oh, Wilbur, you forget yourself. Quackity, you forget where you stand next to me. You are in my shadow. Act like it. Maybe it's not a coincidence that every single idea you have ever had has failed under your guidance. You are a walking second place medal.
Shivers. Ow. Ow.
Goddamn, boys. Save that talk for the bedroom, Jesus. Jesus can't help us now. And now we reach an arc called Hitting on 16. And this is stage 3 of Wilbur's Notice Me Senpai plan.
Oh, you called it Notice Me
Notice Me Senpai.
That's insane.
Okay. So, the thing with Hitting on 16 is because of schedule issues between the 4 of them, they never got to live stream this. So this was actually written and published on AO3.
What? Who?
I think somebody else, published it for him, but, Wilbur commissioned it. And everyone involved in Hitting on 16, all the characters mentioned, Tubbo, Rambo, Quackity, Tommy, and Wilbur, they all, agree and say that, yes, this is something canon that happened. We just, with scheduling issues, we didn't have the time to put it in there.
Oh.
So, yes, this happened. So here's, the published, fan fiction and scene.
How interesting. Wait, this is interesting. This is new.
Yeah. So since the burger van wasn't gaining much attention, Wilbur worked with Tommy to sort of redecorate it and update it in order to make it more accessible and get more attention to it. The two worked for hours before eventually calling it. And we read a poem Wilbur had written overnight.
Oh.
I am the gilding of the gold. I am the painting of the lily. I am the crushing of the sand. I am the tirading tide of bland. I am the taunting silver light which penetrates and scars the sky. I am the remnant hopes and dreams of all good men that come to die. I am the surgeon's chromium dagger. I am the turgid Las Nevadas. Which is basically just a really fancy poem of him shit-talking.
So, He's not out of his middle school phase.
Yeah. I mean, Wilbur is a musician. And a poet, so this is his thing. And later, Wilbur is invited to a dinner with Crackety at a place called The Needle, which I think is the Stratosphere replica. They share a pleasant dinner and an even more pleasant conversation. However, it quickly devolved into petty arguments, slowly growing worse, until Crackety said something that changed the tone entirely. He offered Wilbur a position in Las Nevadas's government, specifically vice president, working hand in hand with Crackety. However, Wilbur sees this offer as something of pity, and gets offended that Crackety would think of him in such a way, until he is stunned into silence when Crackety quite simply says, "I don't think of you at all." And this stings hard, when Wilbur has spent almost his entire post-revival trying to get Crackety's attention. Again, Crackety is that fuel to his fire. He needs something to keep going, or else he's just going to drop dead again. And tying this in with Wilbur's implied romantic feelings, that's almost a flat-out rejection. And Wilbur left after that. Enraged by the encounter, Wilbur grows a little unstable. After all, as nice as he pretends, as changed as he likes to pretend to be, he is still Wilbur. Yeah. And he decides to host a little heist to steal Crackety's horse. They plan to hide it.
No, what?
They plan to hide the horse and place it on a pressure plate, rigging it so that when the horse steps off, it will set off explosives and hopefully kill the horse in front of Crackety. Remember that room Rambo built that Wilbur rigged?
That's the TNT that will ignite. Oh, what?
And while Wilbur and Rambo are stealing the horse, they run into Tubbo, in which he leaves Rambo to deal with it, and then enlists the help of Tommy to actually set the horse in place. Tommy is noticeably uneasy about all of this and questions whether or not it's a good idea. Wilbur gets defensive and says that he's never lied to Tommy before. Tommy is unnerved by this, not just because Wilbur has absolutely lied to him before, but because he's acting very similarly to when they were in Poctopia.
Oh no.
And just like then, Tommy listens to Wilbur and says he trusts him. That boy just wants his brother to be good.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Rambo too expresses his concerns. He doesn't really want to do this, but Wilbur convinces him to continue. They get Crackety from his office and lead him down to the cave where they took the horse. However, the horse is gone, and Tubbo is on the pressure plate, having freed the horse himself. Both Wilbur and Crackety fly into a panic while Rambo slips off to try and help.
Tubbo!
And when Wilbur attempted to reach Tubbo to help him, Crackety butted in multiple times, eventually resulting in a fist fight between the two. And while they continued to go back and forth, Rambo calls to them, having switched places with Tubbo. So Tubbo is now free, but Rambo is on the pressure plate. Wilbur attempts to call to Rambo to get him to stay still so they can figure something out. Maybe cut off the redstone or anything, but Rambo doesn't listen. He steps off the plate, and the explosives go off. And Rambo loses one of his canon lives.
Oh, how many lives does he have?
This is the first death of his that we see.
Because I was like, I don't remember him being mentioned that he died, so this is the first one? Okay. Oh my goodness.
And Wilbur, he should have felt guilty or sad. But instead, he felt alive.
That's fucked up. Hold up. No. You shouldn't feel like that when killing Rambo.
Now,
that was his room.
A little bit later, distraught by Rambo's death. While in that moment he had felt almost a strange euphoria at causing that chaos again, he is distraught. And he goes to Phil. He laments his fears and guilt and stress, to which Phil suggests an apology tour. and I'm not exactly sure when this scene is, but there is a moment. You're thinking of Hell of a Boss, aren't you?
No, I was thinking of the ukulele.
The ukulele.
It's the apology.
It's just a Wilbur with a ukulele.
Yeah.
But there is a scene where he's talking to Phil, and Phil looks at him and he asks who Wilbur thinks he should be apologizing to. And when Wilbur opens the door to leave, Tommy is standing in the doorway.
Aww.
Wilbur says nothing and walks past him. Tubbo was the first he visited on his apology tour, in which Wilbur initially apologized for Rambo and his own failure of a plan, and while Tubbo was apprehensive over the old situation, Wilbur continued. He leads Tubbo through a sort of reenactment of Dawn of the 16th, all the way up to when he handed Tubbo the presidency. He shook Tubbo's hand, apologized for all the wrongs he did before, and the weight he put on a child's shoulders. He just wanted Tubbo to have a safe space. And much to his surprise, Tubbo forgave him and invited him to stay a while, to which Wilbur declined, saying he wouldn't be around for much longer. While attempting to find Nikki, Wilbur runs into Eryn instead.
Eryn? Oh, we haven't heard him from a while either.
He's been busy with his museum.
Right.
And Wilbur fails to make a getaway before Eryn notices him. They walk through Eryn's museum together, during which Wilbur finds the note Eryn left in the mock version of the final control room, the one Tommy saw earlier where it says, "I'm sorry."
Mm-hmm.
And it's upon reading this that Wilbur apologizes for the events after the Independence War. While Eryn still thinks Wilbur is a bad person, they agree that maybe repentance is an option for both of them. Eryn told Wilbur he could probably find Nikki at Pogtopia's ruins. And Wilbur, before he leaves, hands Eryn a book and instructs him not to open it until a very specific date. I think it's like August 2nd or something. I don't know. I didn't write it down. However, Eryn lied. There would be someone Wilbur would need to talk to at the Pogtopia ruins, but it wasn't Nikki. Instead, he found Fundy.
Fundy.
Their interaction was tense and awkward, but they did hang out for a while. Perhaps feeling bad for his lack of fatherly skills, he taught Fundy how to fish. They played catch together. And despite this uneasy peace they had landed on, they did have to have a real conversation. Fundy expressed his frustration and hatred toward Wilbur, stating he felt neglected and left behind. Throughout the entirety of the L'Manberg War, Wilbur only treated him like a child, dismissing him and ignoring him, and I don't know if Fundy, if we ever touch on this, but throughout that entire time, Wilbur had spent all his attention on Tommy. This other kid, what made him important? What did he have that Fundy didn't, that got Wilbur to look at him? And Wilbur genuinely apologizes, especially for the things before his death. He had loved Fundy and being a father, even if he was never good at it. Fundy refuses his apology, which I think he has every right to do.
Yeah.
And just asked Wilbur to stay away from him. And Wilbur reluctantly agrees. And that's where we're gonna pause apology tour for now. We will get back to Wilbur.
Okay.
But I think it's time we talk about our favorite blood god. That's right, my beautiful boy.
Oh, we haven't heard from a while either.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay.
God, when was the last time we heard from him? He showed up at the Red Banquet, but briefly.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Eggpire when he was teaming up with Puffy and all of that.
Yeah,
all right.
That was when.
Now,
the ambush, the rescuing ambush, I believe.
Yeah. So on June 6th, 2021, upon receiving the note from Dream asking him to visit and a mention of his favor, Techno visited the prison and was subsequently locked inside the cell with Dream.
What?
See, Sam claimed that Techno was too much of a threat and was currently Dream's easiest way of getting out of the prison. Right? So Quackity having Dream write him that note was just to lure him there.
That's
where they would trap him there.
Yo!
So Techno is now in prison. And Dream is panicking, okay? Because he's been here for 6 months and now his backup plan is in here with him. And Techno is like, chill, dude. Unlike you, I actually have friends. Okay? And he then had a Dream tell him everything he knew about the prison. Since Dream was the one who commissioned it, he should have a great deal of info, as well as knowledge of where the prison blueprints might be. And these two kind of end up developing, like, a prison podcast, where Techno is having a great time, like, Dream's suffering, and Techno's just like, welcome back to the podcast, folks.
Just like this?
Yeah, this is what's going on. Right.
Ooh, tell me more.
And on June 21st, 2021, we get more of Techno's podcast, and as he's going through this, Dream opens up. He tells Techno about Quackity's torture and what it was like having nothing to do in here, to which Techno just said Dream needed to see a psychologist.
Just straight up?
Yeah. Since they had nothing to do, Dream wondered what would happen if he used the revive book on someone who isn't dead, to which Techno immediately offered himself up as a test subject.
Pardon?
Now, step 1 of summoning a god. Fuck around and find out. See, when they attempted to use the revive book on Techno, it didn't have the effect they thought it would. See, what it actually did was summon XD. So he pops into the cell, and he
finally pops in?
Yeah, XD comes by, and he's just, like, staring at the two of them, and finds this so utterly amusing. He's like, you know what? Just because you managed to succeed in summoning me here, I will grant you a single wish. Anything you want, just say it.
Potatoes.
Techno asks for a bell so that he can ring it during the beginning of his podcast.
That's crazy!
He wants a bell. Right, and Dream is in mental anguish because he's like, you could have asked to gotten out of here. And Techno's like, dude, he's a god. You really want to make a lasting deal with him?
Bell. Ding, 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 ding.
Right, so that's actually pretty smart, though, to ask for something inconsequential. Something that would be easy to pay back if there was a price to it. On September 14th, 2021, enter Quackity. See, in an attempt to get information about the revive book, Quackity, rather than targeting Dream, tried to kill Techno.
What the heck?
Since that was Dream's only means of escape, and personally, Quackity still had some beef with him, given the jagged scar up his face, blinding him in one eye. So they...
it made you look badass.
I mean, yeah, you look great, too.
Yeah.
All right.
You needed an upgrade.
You look great.
You needed an upgrade.
However, mid-attack, Techno suddenly disappears. I know this! See, knowing that he would probably end up trapped in prison and that this was a lure, he had set up what is called a stasis pearl, which is where you throw an ender pearl into water, and because it's, like, floating there, it doesn't activate, and, like, you slam a trapdoor down over it, it'll activate the teleportation and bring you there. And he had left that stasis pearl and instructed that Phil was to activate it in order to get Techno out of prison. But you see, Phil is an old man, and he was not wearing his glasses. So when Techno left his will and instructions on when to activate the stasis pearl, he read it as 3 months instead of the intended 3 days.
Phil, I gave you that book
3 months ago, Phil!
You said 3 months.
I said 3 days!
Wait. Oh.
You did say 3 days.
Right. Bruh. Oh my gosh, that was my favorite part.
But Techno is now free and back in his cabin thanks to the Birdman.
Hell yeah.
We love Phil.
Love you.
After a brief check in and around the prison, unable to find Techno, Q and Sam returned to the cell, only to find Dream was gone too.
Oh.
However, I'm gonna abate your fears here. Quackity leaves, Sam stays to search the cell again, and he finds Dream had not escaped, but was just simply hiding. And Sam, well furious about everything that was happening, agreed not to tell Quackity that Dream was still here. Okay, that way Quackity would leave him alone. There would be no more torturing. Right?
But Quackity has a big
mouth. Sam at this point is feeling a little bad for him. It's not really in his moralities to attack people like this. And he does say that if Dream causes any more trouble, what he might have to worry about is not Q torturing him, but Sam putting a knife to his throat next. And sometime later, after this, Sam shows up at Rambu's house, claiming to be there to arrest him. Now, Rambu asks if this was about before, when he had asked Sam to lock him up about his fear with Enderwalk, and he states that he's fine now. But Sam only said that he now knew why Rambu was so keen to get into the prison. And because Rambu physically couldn't tell Sam about Enderwalk helping Dream, thanks to, like, the lessons, and Sam knew of Rambu and Techno's allegiance, he thought that Rambu was in on the whole escape plan with Techno, because he knows that Rambu and Techno are part of the syndicate together. So he now arrests Rambu, suspecting him to be involved.
Sam, you can't just arrest people for assumptions. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have like a you're not doing well. You're not doing well.
Sam, you started great. We're not sure how we feel about you now.
I don't like him.
You don't like him?
No.
What about Sam Nook?
I love Sam Nook.
Sam Nook
and Sam are different.
Different people.
They're different people. Are you kidding me?
Sam Nook, beautiful, fabulous, sweet boy. Sam, bitch.
Girl, I'm deadass. There's so many times
My lord.
Like, Sam, what are you doing?
And we're gonna talk a little bit about Foolish once more. So he's been coming up more and more this season. And we're gonna talk about his relationship, particularly with the god XD.
Bro, what?
Gasp. See, Foolish had started construction on a giant Dream XD statue, which is what this image is based on. So this is like a Minecraft skin of the statue Foolish built, which is so cool. Again, I have to show you photos. Oh, look it up. Give Foolish appreciation for his builds. Right.
I've seen Fately of art.
Right, so he starts construction on the statue somewhere before November 23rd, 2021. And during construction, Dream XD logged on multiple times to remind Foolish about the statue or to just check in on him and see what he's doing. XD also sometimes would prank Foolish, demanding entertainment, and that he likes violence for entertainment too. So Foolish has kind of become his little pet that he just like comes in, he's like, do a trick for me. Yay! Like, that's literally these two's relationship. Right? And XD even reveals his true voice to Foolish. See, he's kind of been mimicking Dream this whole time, but that is not really what he sounds like.
What does he sound like?
Do I describe it? Hold on.
If you can try, maybe?
No, I think it's just kind of like this distorted, deeper voice.
Okay.
And he can speak inside Foolish's head whenever he wants to. He ordered Foolish to finish the statue in 2 weeks' time. But it was also revealed that XD is unable to perceive a mortal sense of time. So he actually doesn't know how long 2 weeks is. He's just like, that sounds like a good time.
14 days.
Yeah, so Foolish is just like, yeah, but don't worry about it. And it like takes him a few months to actually finish the statue. A full month. On December 11th, 2021, XD appears in Foolish's summer home and was surprised to see that the statue was done. Foolish said that he still needs to finish the base part of it, but XD is like, nah, this is good, this is complete for now. And they talk about a lot of things back and forth, but most importantly, the reveal that Foolish, who, like I said, has some relation to divinity, it's revealed that his immortality, his divine powers, was a reward from Dream XD for, like, building this statue for him. So his immortality and, like, some of the other cool things he'd do in his links in divinity was a gift from XD.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
However, like, this power of his is limited. You know, once it runs out, he'll just be, like, a normal person like everyone else. And the way this immortality power works is that every time Foolish loses all of his hearts, which would normally kill him, a totem would be set off, even if he wasn't holding them. So Foolish, being a living totem of undying, basically has the equivalent of an infinite amount of totems, which makes him immortal and seemingly invincible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense now.
So Dream XD was like, you know what, I'd like you, my pet. Immortality. Just so I can keep that. Now, flipping back to Q and his Last Nevada series, we're going to talk about episode 4, which I've actually had to split into a few different parts of my notes because this one is much more extensive than the previous ones. So, Last Nevada's Ep 4, this section I have dubbed Lessons. 3 months before the prison visit, so this is before Quackity goes to see, like, Techno and Dream, I believe.
Okay.
Quackity takes Slime, full name Slimesicle, into...
That's Slimesicle?
That's Slimesicle. Wait, do you know who he is?
Yes, that's like my brother's favorite YouTuber.
Yeah,
And I started liking, watching him. Because,
That's
like, the
Slimesicle.
games that he played and the way that he, like, edits the corn video. Oh, wow.
Slime is Slimesicle, by the way.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe I just realized who he was.
No, so this
That went over my head.
This is Slimesicle. And Quackity takes him into, you know, the hotel within Las Nevadas and greets him happily. You know, Slime kind of jumps from the stairs to the balcony and they go and sit down.
What?
And Quackity explains to Slime that he will be embarking on a trip to see some old friends, and that this trip is extremely dangerous. He clarifies that the people he's seeing aren't old friends, and that he could die. And Slime gets anxious and heartbroken at the thought, like, Q's his best friend, he doesn't want his bestie to die. And Quackity compares Slime to himself when he too was young and naive, and says that the only reason he can trust Slime is that he's not yet been corrupted by this world. He follows by saying that Slime needs to stay with him and around him a lot, and he's going to teach Slime about taking charge of Las Nevadas, you know, in case something does happen to Q, and that Slime needs to experience everything that Q has kind of experienced. Week 1. Humans are assholes, and they are going to gatekeep at any chance they get.
Damn.
Quackity says that outsiders will be treated like hell, and anyone who isn't them would be excluded. But he made Las Nevadas so people wouldn't feel the way Q did when he was turned away at every corner. Prime example here, when he wasn't allowed to join L'Manberg. Week 2. Politics are the way to power. Quackity says that Slime needs to play the politics game to gain power, and that he needs to make friends and meet people, even if those people are people you don't like. And we get a flash of Schlatt's grave on screen. Quackity tells Slime about the political party he made, to which Slime misinterprets it as a normal party and says that he is going to drink and do drugs. And Quackity quickly corrects him, saying that it's not, no, not drugs, power, yes.
So we get to drink and snort power.
Right? And Slime says that he doesn't doesn't sound like a very fun party if they're gonna do that instead.
No, it's cool, it's cool.
And Quacky's like, no, you should want and need power. And Slime nervously asks if he needs to want power. And Quacky pauses for a long moment. It cuts to clips of him in the election, his tribulations in an attempt to gain power. And we don't hear his response to Slime's question. Week 5. Create no emotional attachments to anything. Everything gets destroyed.
Oh, you jumped like a few weeks.
Yeah, we've jumped. It opens with Quacky telling Slime about Wilbur. How at his peak, he was a very powerful man. After some time, due to poor choices and negligence, he had to destroy his own nation to gratify himself. He tells Slime about Dream, who built the server and desired power. He says that Dream bit off more than he could chew and now rots in jail. And he brings up himself, saying he wanted to build a nation for him and his best friends, only for the nation to be destroyed, El Rapids. Slime asks if Las Nevadas would be destroyed, before quickly ensuring that, no, he didn't care and that everything would be dust. Which is the lesson. And Quacky says that Slime is there to avoid what happened. And Slime says he will love and care for Las Nevadas, but also form no emotional attachments to it. I love this freaky little guy.
Yeah.
Alright. Week 6. Hold your ground against authority. Claiming Slime had nothing else to keep until his death other than his pride. So, if anyone tries to take it, protect it with his life. Quacky tells Slime that Dream tried to take Las Nevadas, that he had protected it with his life as it was his pride and joy. And Slime noticeably seems to speak in a more human tone, where he's kind of like learning speech properly, telling him that he's glad he stood his ground. And Slime pauses before pulling out a book where he's been taking his notes and writes "Hold your ground against authority," except it is normally spelled wrong, so it's like "whole your," but it's the wrong your, ground against authority, and it's like notably spelled wrong.
Your, is it Y-R?
Yeah, Y-O-U-R.
Oh.
And turned to Quackity to fiercely tell him, no! Quackity clarifies that to only hold his ground against bad authority, to which Slime then asks him to pretend to be bad authority so he can tell him no. I love this little guy. Week 10, another jump. Trust nobody. Every human is for themselves. Quackity tells Slime as they overlook a sunset that he'd deal with constant betrayal. He says that everyone he's ever trusted has disappointed him, and says that someone could be lying to him right now. And it cuts to Sam speaking to Dream at the prison about lying that Dream hadn't escaped so Q wouldn't come torture him. Slime says that he'd seen a lot of people not do what they said they were going to do, and says he thinks he trusts Quackity and asks if he should stop. Quackity says that people he really cares about are the people he keeps around him, and that Slime was the first person he'd kept around for this long. Slime, touched by this, admits that he doesn't actually have 300 bones, which immensely confuses Quackity.
How many bones do you have then, Slime?
How many?
How many are there?
No bones. How many are there? Can't just, but 36. Last year there were 37. Oh my god, okay. Week 11. Seek successful revenge, because if you fail, the consequences are going to be bitter.
Ooh.
This sequence starts off with Quackity talking rapidly about seeking revenge, saying it's easy to get caught up in the possible rewards before you obtain them. He discusses all the planning that goes into revenge, and is cut off by Slime asking if it's worth it. He falls silent, and asks Slime to elaborate. Slime says that he's been watching for a long time, and that one person would lash out, and then the other would. No one would stop, back and forth, taking that revenge. He asks again if it's even worth it. And Quackity responds with no, it's not. Final week. Legacy is all you leave behind in this world.
Final week, so how many weeks was that in total?
I don't know, if it's final week, it could be week 12. or we could have jumped and there's other lessons we didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
They approach Las Nevadas, and while showing Slimesicle around, Quackly says that when he dies, the only thing he leaves behind is everything he has ever done in his life. Everything you've ever done in your life, that will be your legacy. Quackly says he's not kept friends, and that his enemies would move on, and that his legacy is Las Nevadas. Slime agrees, and says they'd leave behind a good one. We get a small scene of Purple, who'd been nearby, listening over the weeks. See, that bitterness over his UFO's destruction had not faded.
I hope not.
And Q's last piece of advice during lessons is this. From the moment Quackly joined the server, he hadn't been lucky or been fortunate with things. When he'd found an opportunity, he'd take it. He said opportunity was presented in making his own luck. And in Slime's bedroom in the night, Q tells him that the house always wins. He and Slime were the house, so they'd always win. Now we reach the second part of episode 4, one I've dubbed Fiancés.
Fiancés.
See, Sapnap, hearing about Las Nevadas and things Quackly's been up to, decides to go visit. And when he runs into Quackly, they seem to be happy to see each other. You know, and with Quackly asking how he stumbled upon this place, because he hasn't really told them about it. And they comment on how it'd been such a long time since they've gotten to see each other and talk. Sapnap mentions how he and Carl had been working on Konoko Kingdom and even asked Quackly to come over there. Like, hey, you should come and join us. You never showed up. But Quackly quickly avoids the topic and he shows Sapnap around Las Nevadas, offering him to come to the grand opening once it's finished. The two of them ascend to the top of the needle, admiring the view. Quackly asks Sapnap if, he ever wants to hang out again, actually get to talking. To which Sapnap brings up Carl, asking if Q had seen him recently. Quackly says that, he hasn't, and Sapnap forces the issue, saying that he should see Carl, and George too. Though Quackly continues to deflect. He says he's busy with the grand opening and teaching someone something. Sapnap points out that, they have time right now, and Quackly still attempts to avoid the issue. Quackly says that he wasn't invited to build that kingdom with him, and Sapnap, confused, corrects him. He says that Carl was supposed to come over and tell Quackly, invite him there. Though Quackly says that Carl never showed up. He hasn't spoken to either of them in ages. And he says that Las Nevadas was built to be shared with Sapnap, Carl, and George. He had done it for them and didn't realize they had gone off to do something he wasn't apparently invited to. Sapnap says that they had started building Konoko for the same reasons, but Quackly doubts that claim. So Sapnap tries to invite him to come to Konoko again, to meet Carl, that it wasn't too late for them to work out whatever tension and lack of communication was happening here. And after some reluctance, Quackly agrees to come for a short visit. And while walking, Quackly states that he thinks something might be wrong with Carl. Even before they stopped talking, Carl would act oddly and sort of space out. But Sapnap just tells him he's probably overthinking things. He tours Quackly around Konoko Kingdom, with Quackly making passive-aggressive comments every now and then. And throughout the visit, Q seems uncomfortable and jealous, likely due to him thinking that they abandoned him. Sapnap says that he was always welcome, and trying to pitch Quackly to move to Konoko Kingdom. When Q asks how long it took them to start working on this after they had stopped talking, Sapnap replies vaguely with soon, which probably means that, immediately after they stopped talking, Carl and him started working on Konoko. They enter one of the random buildings on Konoko and find Carl inside, who greets them and welcomes them with sticks. Carl says that he and Sapnap need to talk about something afterwards, but that Carl would
continue the tour himself. He leads them into an Airbnb, and Quackity reminisces on a building they did in Lemanberg. Carl agrees flatly, and Sapnap comments that he's acting a little weird, just like Quackity had mentioned before. Q mentions how Carl had once wanted to build a roller coaster out of their house last time, and Carl thanks him for that idea, though Q clarified that initially it was Carl's idea. He was the one who thought about it. He was just reminding him. Carl leads them to what he dubs the best view in the country, asking if Quackity was going to move in. Quackity clarifies, saying he's been working on Las Nevadas. He couldn't come nearby. That was really sweet of them to offer. And Carl just stares blankly between him and Sapnap. And amidst all the questioning about El Rapids and Las Nevadas, he has to speak with Sapnap privately. Carl has been sort of awkward and tense this whole time, and he explains to Sapnap it's because Quackity once killed him before. During El Rapids, when Quackity had tried to frame Eryn to get him off the throne. And he kind of blew Carl up. For some reason, Carl claims he doesn't remember anything about who Quackity is outside of that murder. And he's uncomfortable with him being here in Konoko. Both Q and Sapnap are wildly confused by this and try to clarify that Q is their fiancé, but Carl is shaken and refuses to listen. Q, growing more frustrated, ends up shouting at them. He has been doing this for them, but he has been so alone for so long. They didn't even think to check on him till they heard about Las Nevadas. Didn't question why he never showed up after Carl supposedly went to invite him. He states he's done, and he's damn glad this engagement didn't work out. Carl, visibly shaken, just asks Sapnap to make Q go away. The Q's already storming out the door. Sapnap chases after Quackity as he leaves. They argue about Carl, and Quackity voices his concerns and confusion. He thanks Sapnap for trying to fix things, but it's fruitless in the end. Just like Q had warned him. Sapnap is welcome in Las Nevadas, but Carl is never allowed nearby ever again. None of this was worth it. Part 3 of Las Nevadas Episode 4. The Day of Techno's Escape.
Oh, we go back to that.
Yeah. The events of Techno's escape play out before, just as we described it, and it overlaps with Slime yelling for Quackity. We cut to later. After Q has come back to Las Nevadas after Techno's escape and Dream's subsequent disappearance. The alarm blares over them as he ushers Slime over, telling him to come with him and to find where everyone was. After all, a jailbreak had just happened. Purple says that someone had left a chest for Quackity that Purple hadn't seen before and leads them over to it. Slime, trying to prove himself to Quackity, says, you know what, I can take care of it. And he walks over to the chest and finds nothing in there. Turning around, Q and Slime see that Purple had placed down a lever, and when flicked, the entire floor gives out beneath them, dropping Q, Slime, and Purple into a massive cobblestone room on a hanging platform. Below and around them is lava. And Purple drops in, asking them to have a little talk. See, he asks for Quackity to tell him about the visit for prison. And Quackity tries to reason with Purple that right now there are bigger problems above them, okay? But Purple, even though he agreed to join Las Nevadas, it wasn't out of, peace or because he agreed with Q's sentimentality. He was pissed about that UFO. And this was the easiest way to get close to his current mortal enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And Purple admits that he knows Quackity has the Resurrection Book, but Quackity truthfully tells him that he does not, though Purple does not believe him, and he says he is prepared to kill Quackity for it. Slime warns Q to be careful as Purple opens fire, and they begin battling back and forth. Quackity repeatedly tells him that he doesn't have the book, but they continue back and forth on that platform. He says that even if he had the book, he wouldn't be giving it to Purple. And in retaliation, Purple switches targets, flipping to Slime instead and pushing him off the platform and into the lava.
What?
Quackity, without hesitation, leaps after him, managing to build himself a little platform, and is shouting at Slime to try and get him onto the sand that he's built to get him out of the lava. And while Q is panicking and screaming, Slime speaks in a soft, almost shaking voice as he begins to melt. He simply says, "Thank you for showing me what it's like to be human."
Oh.
And he dissolves into the lava below, losing a canon life.
Do you, the Terminator reference? With
I
the
know,
thumbs up? I imagine he's doing that.
Yeah. No!
Oh.
Slime, my baby!
Slime.
Q screams for him, but Slime is dead, and Purple escapes back into the wall. The scene then flips over to a nighttime, snowy Las Nevadas, panning over to the needle. It cuts to a library where a now disheveled Quackity works. Ever since his death, Slime has been dormant. Though they had managed to find him respawn, he's covered in a green, gooey liquid and is just staring blankly at the ground, unresponsive to the world around him. Quackity approaches him with a book in hand and starts speaking to him, claiming that he's been researching a way to recover Slime, as it had been weeks, and he hadn't walked or talked. He expresses concerns about Slime even remembering him, which he was trying to counteract using the journal of every memory they'd had together, so that Slime could read them and remember everything in case that was an issue. He says that when he writes those books, he feels like he's writing a story, and it feels strange referring to him as Slime. Instead, he should be referred to as a human. And he names him Charlie.
Charlie.
Which I think might be Slimesicle's real name, by the way.
Maybe? I haven't watched him in a while.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. While Quackity had mostly been stuck in his library, Foolish had been handling things around the country. He says that he hoped he could hear Charlie talk again one day and misses his silly jokes. When placing the memory book inside the chest, Q finds a strange new book inside. It's full of seemingly gibberish and scribbles, with Quackity gaining hope that Charlie had perhaps written it despite his dormancy. Quackity runs back to his library to decipher the book, and it fades to Foolish and Quackity. They question what it means, and Foolish says he's struggling with it, until noticing that some letters were standing out. They read through the book and figure out it spells legacy.
Legacy?
Quackity excitedly returns back to Charlie with his findings, only to discover that Charlie's not there, left without a word, and the house was dark. Quackity says that he'd left his legacy behind in that book, and it fades to a real-life shot of Quackity for the opening of Las Nevadas, the grand opening he's been hyping up. And we get... I actually have his little speech written down, and it's, again, this might be in the wrong cadence. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the grand opening of Las Nevadas, entertainment capital of the world. Indulge yourself in the lavish lifestyle you never knew you could have. Amidst the war and the chaos, try your luck. Experience thrills of a lifetime. You'll find yourself enjoying our hub of gambling, nightlife, shopping, fine dining, and entertainment. And because we're building a legacy that is prepared to last for centuries, we're not only a hotspot for fun, but we are also a hotspot for business, trade, and power. What happens in this country stays in this country. So, are you ready to try your luck?
Damn, that's
We also
cool.
get a note that Q had written to Charlie. Slime, wherever this box may find you, in life or in possible death, know that I will fulfill your legacy. Quackity from Las Nevadas. Which is the way Slime always refers to him. He never calls Quackity just by his name. It's always Quackity of Las Nevadas. Quackity of Las Nevadas.
No.
I'm going to introduce you a new character. Now, I don't have his photo. But on on October 22nd, 2021, we find out about a boy named Eryn.
Eryn.
See, Eryn was born to a demon mother and human father. Where way many years ago, the father had saved the demon mother from piglins, and the two had fallen in love. During his younger years, Eryn seemed to have one sole friend, a younger Tommy, which he met while exploring. Now, Tommy and Eryn are actually childhood friends in real life.
Aww.
Hence why they're childhood friends here. The two spent a long time hanging out together often, practicing archery, and Tommy even teaches Eryn how to swim. The two were very close childhood friends, but lost contact somewhere between then and when Tommy joined the server. This happened because one day, after spending time with Tommy, Eryn came home and found it burnt to the ground with his parents dead. Presumably, a revenge of those piglins. Falling into grief and rage, Eryn seems to have cut off all contact with anyone for years, until he joined the server on October 22nd, 2021. Now, I've given this a very narrative tone, because I'm not sure we get too much into him, so this will contain my own bias and character analysis here. He's heard rumors about the place, that it was supposed to be happy and safe. Perhaps he's even heard about Tommy and came to see him. But it was too late. His friend had changed too. Even as they meet again and Tommy helps Eryn get settled, Tommy is broken. Perhaps in a way Eryn recognizes. And I wonder if he's reminded of himself when he lost his parents. Maybe it's just his personality or his demonic heritage or just losing his family in such a gruesome fashion at such a young age had changed him. But Eryn seems to have a rather odd personality. He's a chaotic and violent individual who often threatens to kill people or their pets. He has little concept of morality and little respect for sacred places or things with emotional meaning. Apparently, he even has blood staining his hand and his clothes because he once ripped out someone's heart and never bothered to clean the blood.
Edgy?
Right?
Oh my.
He does, however, help in his odd little way. Like when he built the shrine to Dream, not knowing anything Dream had done, under Tommy's base, in hopes that Tommy would get arrested if someone found out about it. Now, this wasn't to torment Tommy, or again, Eryn didn't know anything Dream had done. It wasn't to torment him or antagonize him, and trying to get him arrested again wasn't for that reason either. He just saw his old friend sad and afraid, and thought getting him locked up in prison again would maybe give him a purpose. He was genuinely trying to help, but he lacked the comprehension to realize what he might be doing is cruel.
That's a weird way to help.
Right? So that's Eryn for you. And on November 28th, 2021, it's time to cash in that favor.
Oh.
The Syndicate had put together a little plan to break both Dream and Rambu out of prison. Using blueprints hung on the wall of the vault, Techno described the layout and workings. Techno explained how Pandora's vault relied on multiple Elder Guardians that moved around in a rail system to provide mining fatigue, and almost all parts, and how the prison had an alarm system that would alert everyone on the server of any problems. With this information, Techno enlisted Nikki and Phil to remain outside, be lookouts, create distractions, and activate Techno's Enderpearl stasis chamber if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Horses would be used to travel and flee from Pandora's vault. In which, remember in the beginning, like in the previous episodes of Las Nevadas, where it kept cutting to the prison, the people in cloaks riding on horses, the sirens blaring.
That was
Las Nevadas has been hyping up this escape since episode 1.
It's just
Yeah,
been
we're finally
foreshadowing
there.
this whole time. Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
The group hid the horses in a secret hole under a nearby hill that Techno had asked Phil to dig the previous day. The group went over the final details of the plan. Nikki, who had not yet revealed her relation to the syndicate, would blend in, talk with the crowd, and secretly spawn withers if they needed a distraction. Techno, along with his trusted wolf Apollo,
Hello.
would breach the prison to rescue Dream and Rambo, while Phil would hide nearby, along with the horses. Upon using fire resistance and a secret path Techno had managed to break into the prison, he manages to get to Dream. Unfortunately, going any further would set off an alarm, and they now to be under a time constraint. So after briefly filling in Dream, Techno held him out of the cell, and the two ran off. Sam, not too far behind them, and while he misses his attacks on both Techno and Dream, Apollo does unfortunately pass. So Sam killed him. R.I.P. Apollo. Alright. Once they were in a safe area, Techno hooked Dream up with some gear before they made their way to Rambo's cell. And on their way, they found Connor. Yeah.
Connor?
He's here again, the man in the Sonic onesie who never does anything, but is somehow always in the right place at the right time, so I have to talk about him.
Connor.
He's been arrested and is in prison, because apparently he attempted to steal some things, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But you know what? They snag him along before breaking out Rambo too.
That's crazy.
So they're like, you know what, Connor, you're coming with us. Alright, in which, how much gear does Techno have on him? Because he hooked up not only Dream with gear, but Rambo and Connor as well.
He's prepared.
Techno is, like, how much?
He needs to be.
My God.
You need to be prepared. Like,
Right?
there's nothing wrong with that.
However, getting out would be far more difficult now. The alarm had gone off, they had Sam behind them, and because of the alarm, it had gathered a crowd that was trying to prevent Dream's escape. Most notably of its attendees was Eryn, who was there. Nikki spawned a wither to help hold off the crowd, but Sam managed to get his hands on Rambo. He mentions something to him about Michael, and Rambo immediately backed down, allowing himself to be held hostage.
How does Sam know about Michael?
Dream was concerned with fleeing, but Techno stopped. He stated that Sam had the wrong person hostage. I mean, Dream didn't care for Rambo, but Techno did. Apparently that was the wrong move, as Sam killed Rambo anyway.
That was his second canon life.
Another canon life down.
Now he has one life left.
However, as the trident went through Rambo's chest, he managed to toss something to Techno. A photo of Michael.
Oh.
Despite the loss, the rest of the syndicate with Dream managed to get out without any other deaths and escaped through another portal. Eryn had been close enough behind to see where they went, but because he was new, he held off on telling the others, even secretly helping Nikki escape as well because she didn't seem to be malicious.
Nice.
Connor also, I guess, joins the syndicate. Yeah, he's there now.
Now he does. No.
Yep.
Nice.
Good for you, Connor.
And on
He was
January
saved, so that makes
21st, 2022, we get to properly meet this her Philza mentioned so long ago.
I remember the her.
Kristen, goddess of death, and Wilbur's mother.
Yeah, hi.
Well, it's a closet cosplay.
Welcome.
Right, I'm here.
Possibly since Wilbur's birth, it's kind of iffy on when this happened. Kristen has had no physical access to the mortal realm. She can interact with things, such as growing the spruce forest, but her domain lies in the afterlife and limbo. The one exception is Phil, where she speaks in his head and he often tries to keep her company as best he can. It's been long enough that she's forgotten what the sun or wind feels like. And trying to aid her, over the years and centuries, Phil has been working on a sort of ritual to allow her access to his body.
Oh.
It took 458 attempts to get it to work. But the ritual succeeded, and Kristen was allowed to possess his body.
Hell
And
yeah.
she gets to run around the server and play for a while
That's so cute.
before going back.
Did you say that like Christian like got creative mode over Phil's
Yeah.
body?
Yeah, so she's goddess of death. But like, my man really missed his wife so much, he wrote her into the lore so that he could have an excuse to hang out with wifey.
Aww. That's a man.
That's
right
a
there.
real man
That's
right
a
there.
real man right there. Hell yeah.
And finally, we flip back to Wilbur. His apology tour.
Oh, we resumed the apology tour.
Mhm.
Because I was about to be like, you ended that a bit ago, but there's a lot
There's
of people
more.
that Wilbur needs to apologize to.
Now, Nikki was one of the people Wilbur felt the need to apologize to the most.
Yeah.
He felt like he had wronged her more than the others and put an extra effort into his apology. Since Nikki enjoyed baking, and that was one of the few things Ghostbur could also remember, Wilbur tried and repeatedly failed to make a cake. And whether he liked it or not, she had come to see him herself. Nikki felt abandoned and resentful, to which he earnestly apologized for the things he did in the midst of insanity. The way he pushed her away in an attempt to protect her so she wouldn't have to witness his downfall. She admitted that while she was still angry, she was happy to see him back. Aside from Phil, she was one of the only ones who was actually glad to see him. He offered her one of the better looking cakes, though he did mix up salt and sugar. She ate it anyway.
Aww.
And during these two kind of hanging out, Wilbur does tell her that he feels like there is another he should apologize to. Ghostbur, who had now taken his place in limbo. And these two kind of F around XD's statue, get him to show up, in which he is not as amused by them as he was by Techno. So he kind of kills Connor, who was nearby. Which, by the way, that was Connor's final canon life, so he's now a ghost.
What the?
And he has a pet red sheep named Rosie. So Connor's here and dead.
Connor, he's the owner of
Rosie? The ultimate side character.
Rosie,
but
I know this
it is revealed
I was
that
asking you about that
XD,
sheep.
despite dismissing Nikki and Wilbur, as I mentioned before, he does take pity on Ghostbur and bring him friend. So now Ghostbur and Friend are together in limbo.
Aww. Oh, that's good.
Later, while walking with Tommy, after he'd said goodbye to Nikki, the two were sharing idle conversation until Wilbur brought up that beach party Tommy had had, the one he remembered through Ghostbur's memories, and Tommy was confused. Yeah, he had sent invitations, but it had never actually happened. No one showed up. And this was the first time we see a discrepancy in Wilbur's memories.
Oh.
And this could be because Ghostbur's memory was altered due to his amnesiac nature. Again, like, he remembers winning the election, even though that didn't happen, so he might have remembered the beach party as being something good and happy that happened, even though it had just been Tommy alone.
Because you said that Dream had Ghostbur deliver the
invitations, but he sent him out into the snow
Yeah.
in intent to kill him, and none of the invitations were sent out.
Mm-hmm.
And curious by this, Wilbur wanted to get into the details of what exactly happened in exile. What else was he misremembering?
Uh-oh.
Tommy is immediately tense and didn't want to, but agreed once Wilbur said he'd back off if Tommy got too uncomfortable. Even developing like a safe word where it's like, okay, dude, just say this, we'll stop, we'll move on. They headed to the exile side of Logdashire, and while Tommy was still reluctant, he told Wilbur the details. Dream destroying his things, pretending to be his friend, isolating him. At first, Wilbur was a bit of defensive of Dream, bringing back in that idolization he's had for him. And then, they come upon the stone tower, the one Tommy had built so long ago. And Tommy was honest. He said, "This tower is where I went to kill myself because of Dream." And throughout this, like, Dream had been the one pushing him to suicide throughout exile, like constant mental stress. And that's when Wilbur cracks. Well, Wilbur did have a high opinion of Dream, worshipping him almost like he was a god. It was nothing to the way he worshipped his brother. And we get a very vivid scene of what's going on inside Wilbur's head. In fact, I have an animation to show you later. Mm-hmm. And while this isn't real, this is Wilbur's, like, almost fantasy, and it's just him beating the shit out of Dream, similar to the way Dream had done to Tommy in prison. Finally, making his decision, Wilbur asked if Tommy knew where Dream was. Tommy didn't know. After all, Dream had recently, like, gone missing from prison. So Wilbur proceeded to lure Dream out into the open by causing a ruckus in the prison, and demanded that Dream apologize. And when Dream at first denies it, see, Wilbur, he knows for whatever reason, even if it's just to torture Tommy, Dream wants him alive. So without a second thought, he sets himself on fire and threatens to kill himself if Dream does not do as he says. And by the end of the encounter, he manages to get exactly what he wanted. The discs Cat and Mellow High from Dream. And Wilbur, he pretends to burn them in front of Tommy. Right, as like this, show of power, but as soon as they're away from Dream, he hands them to Tommy and says, "You're free now." A sort of, maybe it's not the greatest apology, maybe it doesn't fix much, but in a way it is a symbolization of Tommy's freedom from Dream's torment and control.
The disc did have, like, a lot of symbolism. There was, like, back and forth of who had the discs.
And, well, Wilbur, after this, initially planned to apologize to Q as well. He was ghosted. Q never responded to his attempts at contact, and with no one else to give his apologies to, he decided it was time to leave. His insanity, his mental breaks, it hadn't gone away, and perhaps with the way he had been revived, his soul was still split. All the good of him was still in limbo. And he knows that. He knows he is a bad person, and he's hurt people, and he hasn't stopped hurting people even after his revival. Just look at what happened to Rambo. His torment of Q. And he knows that even if he stays and tries to do better, it's only a matter of time before he hurts someone again, and God forbid he ever lays a hand on Tommy. He planned to leave silently, not really letting anyone know, but as he was about to leave, he ran into Tommy. And Tommy was not nearly as accepting of this as Wilbur was. This was still his older brother, after all. He was upset and lonely and didn't understand why, after everything, Wilbur was leaving again. He demanded an explanation, and was even worried Wilbur might try to commit suicide again. And after calming down, Wilbur explained. He said that he was from Utah, the actual state Utah, and that he had actually been working at a gas station before coming here.
This is a weird lore drop.
Weird lore drop.
So he's not a British boy. He's not from the UK.
No, he is from the UK. He was just living in Utah and working at a gas station, I guess. In which the irony of, like, Wilbur being from Utah and Quacky having a place based on Nevada, and those two are right next to each other. But he had come here, he'd done his damage, and hopefully he'd done his good too. So now it was time to leave. Tommy was perplexed until Wilbur handed him a book. We don't actually see inside, but supposedly it's Wilbur's final words to Tommy and a more detailed explanation. And Tommy agreed to let Wilbur go, only asking that Wilbur forgive himself too. Wilbur gets on a boat, and he leaves. And he is supposedly warped to Utah from the middle of the ocean. And when I say like, oh, he just like goes to Utah, no, we get an in real life scene of Wilbur just like spawning in next to the welcome to Utah sign. So Wilbur canonically is now in our reality. He is shifted.
Character Wilbur is now in Utah.
C. Wilbur is now in IRL Utah. Living at that gas station, bro. Living his best life.
Well, damn. At least he's not dead.
And while we don't get to see what was inside Tommy's book, we do get to see what was inside the book Wilbur left for Eryn. The one he told him not to open until the date of his departure.
Which was, you said August 2nd.
Yeah, I think it was August 2nd or something like that. I don't remember the date. But what it says is, you didn't deserve any of what was done to you. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. For the first time in a while, I have felt calmness. People never give up on trying to unite people. It is a difficult cause, but one far nobler than any I have ever possessed. You are not the villain. Your grand work and statues will outlive any of the horrible tales spun about your past. When the day comes, and we all finally pass on, I like to think we will all reconvene in a large desert. I want to believe that the desert is where people start anew, and figure out who they were supposed to be in this grand life of ours.
Frickin' Utah.
We've lived too long, Eryn. We were supposed to be together in that desert, recounting times we were adversaries, and shaking hands with our foes. We will have a long way to go, though. But that desert, that blank slate of sand, it's waiting for us. Dearest Eryn, see you in Utah. And that last sentence is actually faded, missing a few letters. Like, I kind of wonder, like, if Wilbur was crying when he wrote that, and that's why we can't see it. Like, maybe the ink was smudged. And that's the end of Wilbur. That's it. His personal finale.
Honestly, Wilbur had a good ending.
Yeah, he did. I liked it. Back to it. Now, before I fully move on from Wilbur's departure, there are a few things I want to talk about. So, as I mentioned, in season 1, we don't really see a lot of Wilbur's demigod powers, if he has any. And it's kind of around season 3 to late season 2, where we confirm Kristen as the goddess of death and Wilbur's biological mother. But we do, throughout season 2 and season 3, see things I think could be considered part of his powers. For one, being the fact that he is the only person in Limbo who can actively, like, interact and remember what his ghost counterpart has gone through. He was also able to feel the veil thinning and could tell Tommy was on the other side. He just didn't know why, but he could tell Tommy was the one close to death and that they were expecting someone new in Limbo. So there's that kind of things that could be part of his power, as well as him being able to cross over to the overworld just by himself at the end of season 2. Like, Schlatt's Limbo, the gym, that kind of exists in the overworld plane as well, but that's not really him crossing over. Like, he's still a ghost. But at the end of season 2, it was Wilbur himself. So there's it seems most of any abilities and capabilities that he has is really only accessed within death, which is pretty interesting. And now we reach an arc I have titled Kidnapping and Retaliation, which happens on and around January 29th, 2022. We're in the double twos, baby! So, in Rambu's last moments before his death to Sam, he had managed to throw a photo of Michael to Techno. Though Techno didn't understand why. He had never seen this kid before, nor understood why Rambu would have a photo of him. Phil and Nikki were the ones to tell him that the child was Michael, Rambu and Tubbo's son, and that they were married. And with this knowledge, Techno rushes over to Snowchester, right, locating Tubbo, informing him of Rambu's death at the hands of Sam, as well as handing him the photo. Presumably he thought he just wanted Rambu to pass this over to his husband. Right. And since Techno now knew of Michael, there was really no point in hiding it anymore. So Tubbo led Techno to Michael's room, only to find the child was missing.
No.
And while Techno and Tubbo throughout this had never gotten along, had never had a good reason, right? Like they've tried to publicly execute each other, okay? They've always been at odds. They agreed to put aside past grievances and work together to find Michael.
Please.
Their first clue was a note within the room left by Eryn.
Eryn?
Saying that Michael was safe and Eryn knew of his location. So the two made their way to Eryn's castle and immediately opened with hostility. Tubbo straight up slamming his axe into the throne, saying, "Where the fuck is my child?"
Exactly.
Right, and so while Tubbo's gone full bad cop here, Techno's kind of gone like good cop to balance him out. Which is a hilarious dynamic.
Opposite?
Yeah. Alright, and Eryn said that he hadn't intended to take Michael without Tubbo and Rambu knowing, but it was a matter of necessity.
Necessity.
See, while everything was going on, George and Sapnap, Sapnap had gone to check on George, and through their fit of, boredom, they decided to cause some chaos, and were targeting people they knew were vulnerable around the server. You know, Sapnap's habit of killing people's pets. So they were targeting Michael, and Eryn, who heard about it, grabbed him and ran.
Oh.
Now, doing his best to protect the child, he had handed Michael over to Sam. He thought that the prison warden would be the best person to keep the kids safe, and she admits now that this was a mistake, as she hadn't seen the child since, and if he still wasn't there, then Sam hadn't returned him, and should be the one to still have him, right? Which explains why Rambu hadn't fought back during his death. If he did, it would have put Michael at risk. So Sam was actively threatening Michael to keep Rambu hostage. And Eryn, to kind of make up her poor decisions in the past and now, decides to help them out. So these three team up. I think they've titled themselves the Revengers.
The Revengers.
The Revengers.
That's crazy.
Right.
That's
and
funny.
with the knowledge that Sam had Michael hostage, Techno used a book given to him by Dream, while he was in prison, to figure out Sam's location. And with this, the Revengers made their way to Snowchester, coming across one of the coastal areas, getting on a boat, and eventually sailing outwards until they land on the Sam's secret little island that Q had visited previously in the Lost Nevadas episode. So now we know where that island is. Well, Sam, who was there, admitted to having Michael when confronted. He refused to hand the child over, which resulted in a battle, one where Sam was easily overpowered and restrained. Breaking open the wall, they do manage to find Michael and recover him safely.
That's good.
As punishment for his crimes, everything from the kidnapping of Michael to the murder of Tommy to the negligence of the prison and that resulting in Tommy's death, they decided that the best punishment for Sam was to lock him within his own creation, Pandora's vault.
Oh.
So they lock him away, they leave him there, right? Taste of his own medicine.
God.
And when it came to Michael,
it was clear there were security flaws within Snowchester. Right? If people could get in and take Michael without Rambo or Tubbo noticing. So, and they agreed that, like, bringing him back there would only risk his safety once more. So the group agreed that Michael should stay in Rambo's old home, the one within Techno's territory, where the Syndicate would help look after him. Right? Because, you know, Michael's Rambo's son and therefore kind of, like, part of the Syndicate by association, so they're like, yeah, we'll keep an eye on him.
Aww.
And when arriving at the house, they're met with an unexpected visitor. In front of the house was Rambo, though his usual appearance was dull. He wore a cloak, and through his chest and bleeding through his clothes in red and green was a large gash where the trident had gone through him. Rambo hadn't just lost a canon life when Sam killed him. He was dead. And now Tubbo stood face to face with his husband's ghost.
That's the ghost? Why'd you put him on the
Ghost
wall?
Boo. Because I feel like we have Wilbur's ghost, we gotta have Rambo's ghost.
Okay.
Now let me talk about the death discrepancies. So, I've only mentioned Rambo losing a canon life twice. And for most people who were watching this and didn't read Hitting on 16, we've only seen Rambo lose one canon life.
Right.
So what happened? And here's the thing, we don't really know. Because of Rambo's memory issues, he could have lost a canon life as early as season 2. Or it could have happened while he was in Enderwalk. So his death is a shock to everyone, including himself.
I could have sworn you said that, like, with canon deaths, like, it has to be, like, significant.
Yeah, it has to be significant.
Yeah. So...
What happened that we don't know about? And I don't think we ever get an answer for it.
What?
And like most ghosts, like Glad Ghostbur, Rambo, who is affectionately titled as Boo,
Corny.
displays memory issues as well as a personality shift, often holding a mocking and condescending view of his living counterpart. A complete, like, 180 of his shy, gentle personality to this very outspoken, like, oh god, this guy was pathetic. Why'd you ever marry him? Like, yeah, like, things like that. Alright.
Ouch.
Rambo's limbo, we find out, is a single grass block in the middle of the ocean, where he cannot escape because it's water.
Oh.
He's equipped with a book and quill where it seems he can communicate back and forth with Boo. So Rambo's now in limbo. Right? Boo, despite his deceased state, agrees to watch Michael and care for him within the house, since, well, he really has nothing better to do now that he's dead. With Sam locked up in the prison of his own making, he was no longer able to function as warden of Pandora's vault. Taking advantage of this, Dream returns. Finally, Pandora's vault can be used for what he commissioned it for, and he turns it into his own personal home and base, proclaiming himself as the new warden. Dream took over the role of taking care of Sam, just as Sam had done for Dream. Doesn't actively antagonize him, but keeps him locked up. Right?
Dude.
And this is a side thing that happens. So, like, as I mentioned, George never really does anything. He's just kind of there. This is really the most lore thing he does, and it's questionable whether or not it's canon. So there was like this whole thing where George goes on like a murderous rampage for like a while, just kills a bunch of people, kills a bunch of things, breaks into the end, fights the Ender Dragon, proclaims himself as the new god, but that appears to have just been a weird dream sequence he had, or a messed up fantasy. And like, it's questionable whether or not this is canon, but the reason I bring it up is because even though his little killing spree. Like, it depicts him killing Dream and, like, all that stuff. Even though that didn't happen, the main question is whether or not George killed Shroud, Tommy's son. Because in George's little fantasy, he sets Shroud on fire, burning down Tommy's, like, house and Shroud in it. And whether or not killing Shroud was also part of his dream and his fantasy, Shroud has been missing since June 11th, 2022. And as far as I know, we never find out what happened to him. So George very well could have actually burned him alive. Or he could have just disappeared. We don't know.
Dude. What does Tommy feel about it?
I don't think Tommy ever finds out. Again, Shroud has been missing. Like, no body, they don't bring it up, whether or not he's dead. Eryn, however, isn't the only new person showing up in Season 3. See, on March 16th, 2022, Aimsey, who I don't have a photo of, but she makes an appearance on the server. She's kind of like Rambu's buddy. She's hung out with Tommy and Tubbo too. Like, her, Rambu, Tommy, Tubbo, Bilzo, Crumb, and, like, I think one other guy, I don't remember, form what, like, the fandom is affectionately called Cricket Crew. And they have some fun shenanigans and streams together. But she joins the server. She's not around for long, and what I'm about to tell you is the only thing we get of her. But she does share a brief interaction with Tubbo and Boo. See, Boo was one of, if not the first person she met on the server, and she was completely unaware he was a ghost, and befriended him. He even gave her permission to live in the Snowchester mansion, right? And it was later that she met Tubbo, who, currently trying to cope with his husband's death, took to messing with her, even stealing a daisy, a little flower from her that she considered important, and mocked her for finding it so sentimental. When asked where she lived, he realized it was his house and quite promptly evicted her. Upset by the whole situation, Aimsey went to Boo, who encouraged her to stand up for herself. She went up to meet with Tubbo again, and that's when she found out the truth. The mansion was his safe space, his home, and it had been violated far too often. He wanted her gone. It didn't matter what Boo had told her, that ghost wasn't Rambu, his husband was dead. He even made fun of her for talking to ghosts, perhaps projecting his own feelings on this, where Tubbo kind of, like, ignores Boo, where he's like, that is not my husband.
So it's valid for Tubbo to act this way.
Yeah, he is mourning, and he's haunted by someone who's pretty much the complete opposite of the man he loves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tubbo proposed a fight to settle the matter, not really taking this seriously, but noting that Daisy would return to their possession if they managed to kill him. Wait, I have they. Am I misgendering Aimsey? I'm gonna continue with they, them, in case I've just accidentally misgendered Aimsey. Because I was using she, her before, but I have they later in my notes, and now I'm concerned that I might have misgendered Aimsey. I'm sorry if I did. But after some pressure, Aimsey began walking towards Tubbo while asking him to kill them. Panicked, Tubbo accidentally pushed Aimsey off of the prime path, resulting in them falling to their death.
They, them.
Yeah, they, them. Sorry. Resulting in them falling to their death, losing a canon life. And Aimsey took the kill as intentional and moved out of the mansion. Tubbo attempted to apologize, but Aimsey refused the apology and continued moving out. Also, leaving a sign that said, "You lied," presumably to Boo. And that's the end we ever see of Aimsey. She leaves. Or they leave. And then, on June 30th, 2022, Technoblade unfortunately passes away from cancer.
Oh, that's...
Shaking the members of the series and the fans to the core. I myself, who, like, Technoblade was one of my biggest idols and the reason I started doing a lot of this stuff. I watched, like, his videos on it and the progress of his cancer, but he
unfortunately passes away. But that was not the end of his character. In Techno's will, which he had left to Phil during his visit to the prison, Techno left a message in case of his passing. This is considered his in-game final words.
Dad, I was gonna read that.
Dear Phil's a Minecraft. I'm going to the prison to visit Dream and make sure he's alright. If I do not return within a few days, activate the pearl I left you in our book club's meeting room. If the pearl is gone, well, it was nice knowing you. Look after the others for me while I'm gone. I left my valuables in a barrel hidden in the top floor ceiling and a chest under the stone in a corner of that one weird room under the house with pistons. Distribute them as you see fit. Please keep Steve and the foxes well fed. The wolves can be released into the wilderness. Tell Rambo and Nikki that they are stronger than they know. Tell Tommy I hope he finds what he's looking for, whatever that is. Phil, I'm glad I met you in this life. Tell the rest of the DSMP that having abolished all governments of men, I have ascended to heaven to take on the kingdom of God. Technoblade. The rest of the pages simply have the letter E. Since that was something the voices often said to Techno during their idle moments, it's interpreted that he gave them the chance to leave a parting message as well. Having fully left the mortal realm behind after presumably centuries or millennia, the blood god fully ascended into his divinity, much like Kristen. Phil built a statue and a memorial for him. Despite being an immortal connected to the gods, he could not follow his dearest friend. And it's also, I've seen some interpretations where Phil now wears both of the emeralds, or occasionally is even depicted wearing Technoblade's cloak. The memorial itself is a diamond sword in the ground with his crown and cloak around it.
I've seen like illustrations of that, exactly. I didn't, June 30th. That's like, yeah.
R.I.P. King.
Moment of silence.
You were a legend. And now, back to our regularly scheduled fictional angst.
Oh, it's still going.
Oh, we're still going.
I
We're
know,
still going,
I
baby,
know.
But that was Techno's finale.
Now we resume.
After Techno, Dream, Connor, Nikki, and Phil escaped, Sam let the rest of the SMP know that Dream was out large. Puns broke off from his allies, agreeing with Sapnap to split up and search for Dream, because Puns has kind of been with Eggpire throughout this. Puns used the opportunity to secretly meet up with Dream at a rendezvous point and restock him with supplies, in which, Puns is working for him again. Coward.
Coward.
He works for the money, okay? Dream pays him. I can kind of respect that, I guess.
He must pay well then.
Right? Geared up again, Dream set off to collect the Axe of Peace, one of the strongest weapons in the game that Technoblade left to Tommy, and which was left underneath the memorial built for Tommy during his death.
Hey,
a memorial in Loughdashire.
You leave that there.
Right? After hearing the news of Dream's escape, Tommy panically began to fortify his base. However, while building, Tommy realized the Dream would probably be searching for the Axe of Peace. He put the wall aside and rushed to the exile site to grab it. And upon arriving at the remains, Tommy found the axe was gone. Shortly after, he encountered Dream, who, Axe of Peace in his hands, reminded Tommy of exile, attempted to manipulate him, and started to give chase. He threatened Tommy with the idea of death and resurrection again and again till he was broken just in the way Dream wanted him to be. What he tried to make Tommy during exile. Eventually, Tommy made his way to Technoblade's cabin and called out to Phil for help, to which Phil immediately responded, pulling Tommy inside the house and, cradling him with what was left of his wings. Phil, when he looked over, Dream was gone. As if trying to make Tommy seem like he was crazy.
No.
Phil
you must
admitted that he had helped Techno break Dream out of prison, but he also said that he would kill Dream if he tormented Tommy again. Tommy completed the walls around his base with the help of Eryn, Phil, and Boo, ensuring a full lockdown of his home. The next week, Tommy met up with Phil, and talked about what happened during the disc confrontation. And after, Tommy admitted his hesitation when trading the discs for Tubbo's life and the guilt he still felt for that. Phil comforted Tommy and said he believes that Tommy could beat Dream if it came down to it. Shortly after, Tommy returned to his house and fell into a trap the Dream had made for him. It contained the 11th disc, known as the Scratched disc. The original audio, which is within the game, by the way, is someone of seemingly trying to hide from some kind of monster and was unsuccessful. To which Dream had overlaid his own message on top of it. And I'm going to be reading this, so this could be in the wrong tone, but I'll revive you and then kill you again, and I'll revive you and then kill you again. Hey, Tommy, want to drop your items in the hole? Hey there, baby, Tommy. And Tommy is like losing it. He's hyperventilating, he's shaking, he's just curled up in the corner screaming, fuck you, you're not a part of this, show yourself, fight me. And the last line on the discs from Dream is, I'm gonna make your life a living hell. After hearing the message, Tommy also discovered Eryn's dream shrine under his house, suspecting not that Eryn had built it, but that Dream did. Another sign of torment, a claim over his home that Tommy had thought was safe.
Oh, Eryn didn't even know.
He returned to Phil's house and discovered Dream had been there too. Evidence provided by a sign of Dream claiming that he had also gotten Phil. This was later revealed to be a ruse designed to frighten Tommy. Phil had simply been away at the time. Dream, after leaving his little scares for Tommy, went to go recover his original armor before his imprisonment, which I think Tubbo had a hold of at the time. During this, he was confronted by Sapnap, who had stolen his stuff and was waiting for him. Although initially happy to see him, Dream turned hostile and demanded Sapnap return his stuff, which he refused. Sapnap told Dream that if he wanted his stuff, he'd have to take it off his dead body. But Dream didn't want to fight him. That was still his friend, what strained relationship they had left. Not to mention, Tubbo and Technoblade had been watching nearby, but were unable to step in. Sapnap and Dream circled each other, attempting to play mind games, leading to Dream threatening Konoko, despite not knowing its location. Dream left, Sapnap giving chase, and the two fought briefly before Dream managed to ender pearl away. Sapnap then met up with Carl to warn him about what might come. I think Dream does attack Konoko, or at least, like, threatens it some more. I don't know if he actually manages to destroy it. After trying to find Phil, Tommy met up with Sapnap in Tubbo's old home near Lemberg, which was where Tommy had been staying out after Dream had managed to get to his house, and he was kind of fortifying it as his new base. And the two of them made plans to hunt and kill Dream together in the light of Dream's visit to Konoko Kingdom, which, yeah, I think was him destroying it or burning some of it, and the torment of Tommy, respectively. And during this, Tommy is telling Sapnap, like, everything about it. The Dream is after him, he's been following him, is scaring him, and he's, like, so scared that someone won't believe him, and Sapnap just, like, puts his hands on his shoulders, and he's like, it's okay, man, I believe you. One of the few people actually standing up for Tommy. And him, Sapnap, and Phil, they kind of make a little allegiance together to help keep Tommy safe. Right, so Tommy too told Phil about what happened, about his and Sapnap's plans of killing Dream, and after they discussed it, they had their alliance and they started fully fortifying Tubbo's old house. Tommy even tried to get a hold of Sam Nook, but I don't think he was successful. Also, I need someone, hear my call, please, to write some fan fiction about Tommy staying in Tubbo's old house. 'Cause, like, his own home is violated. What's the safest place he can think of?
Tubbo.
And it's Tubbo's old home. Like, the cuteness potential
is insane, and I'm gonna write this myself if I have to, but please, hear me, see the vision! Okay, I'm mentally projected into your minds. And leaving Tommy here for now while he fortifies his base with Phil and Sapnap. We're back with Quackity. For the Las Nevadas finale.
Oh, you did say that there was 5 episodes.
There's more, yeah. Which takes place on September 10th, 2022. The stream begins with a black and white overhead view of L'Manberg, before the Manberg-Poctopia War. It then cuts to a flashback of exactly 2 years prior. The flashback contains Tommy and Quackity speaking about the upcoming election. Tommy has a heartfelt conversation with Q about how everything is going to be fine after the election, and how they would still be friends. Quackity says that the elections are going to change his life. He just thought it would be for the better. It cuts to a scene of Quackity going up to a grave he had built for Charlie, since he hadn't appeared since his death. Since he had left after being dormant. Weeks after this, while he's visiting, he talks to Charlie about how he misses him. How Quackity's opening up the country soon, and then he puts an item frame with a picture of him and Charlie. He talks about the key he had given Charlie the day he died, a sign of trust for him, that if something were to happen to Q, he would entrust Las Nevadas to Charlie. He thanks Charlie and leaves the grave. After the grand opening of Las Nevadas, we see Q and Foolish talking back and forth, with Foolish proposing ideas for the country and Q shooting him down every single one. Foolish expresses his disappointment, including that Q didn't even set off the fireworks they had planned during the opening. It's clear that Quackity still misses Charlie, and is yet to get over that enough to think of much else. Even tempted to see if he could recreate the anomaly Charlie was by giving other slimes the information needed to evolve, even collecting several slimes in the process. Charlie did not just disappear or leave after he had regained his consciousness. He had been taken. See, Purpled, at a little skull cave he had built, had taken Charlie.
Oh.
Leaving his body behind bars, watching him, just to see what would happen. And it is then Puns appears at the entrance. And it's generally interpreted that, Puns and Purple are related in some way, possibly older brother, little brother. I think this has to, do with their interactions and the fact that their Minecraft skins are very similar to each other. Whether or not their relationship, biological or adopted, is canon, I'm not sure. But Puns revealed that he was hired by Dream to come and try and convince Purple to weaponize Charlie and to train him to hate and kill Quackity. Eventually, after at first refusing multiple times, Purple agrees. We do get a whole scene in the midst of this of Rambo and Limbo talking to MD. He talks about how he misses home, his family, that he's tried to swim out of Limbo but just disintegrates every time. MD tries to cheer him up with the idea of a party with the other members in Limbo, even referencing Glatt. He also briefly mentions Tommy, but that he hasn't seen the kid for ages now. Again, that time dilation where Tommy hasn't been revived all that long, but it's probably been months since he's just disappeared from Limbo. And while Quackity was walking around Las Nevadas, he sees Charlie. Quackity is cautious at first, but is overall so happy to see him back that he lowers his guard. Charlie says that the last thing he remembers is Red and all his supposed bones melting. Quackity asks if Charlie remembers what Purple did to him, and Charlie is about to answer when they are interrupted by both Dream and Purple, decked to the nines in netherite gear.
Wait, both of them are together?
Both of them, they're working together now to take down Q.
Are you...
Right? Purple for the destruction of his UFO, Dream for the revenge of nearly over a month of torture.
So they set aside differences to work together.
Yeah, I mean, Purple, like Puns, works for the money, so.
Yeah.
Quackity, tells Charlie to get behind him, and the two flee into a nearby hotel as Dream shouts threats,
looking to return the favor of Q's torture. Quackity slowly backs up into the back wall and flicks a lever. Fireworks start to go off. The ones he had initially planned to use in the grand opening. Purple and Dream tease Quackity because what do fireworks do? But Foolish, who had seen them, heads toward the hotel to see what's happening. So while it wouldn't do any damage to Dream and Purple, it would draw people there. It's then that Charlie's mood changes. He looks at Q and says, "Legacy is what you leave behind, Quackity." And he shifts, aiming a weapon not at Dream, but Q. "So why did you leave me behind?" Because he doesn't know that Quackity had been taking care of his dormant body. All he knows is that he woke up and he was with Purple. So there's the idea that Q just left him there, even though that's not what happened.
No.
Right? When Foolish realizes what's happening, he runs to a building near the hotel and flicks another lever, which releases the slimes Q had collected as a distraction. Right? Q manages to gain some distance between himself and his attackers, but that doesn't stop them from doing damage, nearly destroying most of Las Nevadas. In the midst of the chaos, Charlie and Purple chase Quackity up the hotel until they reach the balcony. Quackity keeps trying to remind Charlie of the lessons of what Purple did to him, even showing him the key that Q had given to him prior to Charlie's death. Purple, however, accuses Quackity of lying, saying that Q had never told the truth, ever. As the two argue, Charlie is visibly distraught and confused, trying to sort out his head, his amnesia, what Purple has told him versus what Q is telling him now. And as Purple backs Q up to the balcony, it's only when Q has nowhere else to go that Charlie seems to make up his mind. And he pushes Purple off the balcony to his death. At first, Q thinks they might have reached peace, but it doesn't seem that way. Charlie talks about how long he's lived, talks about how he has seen empires fall and rebuild without ever understanding why, until he met Q. Charlie starts reciting the lessons Quackity had taught him. He starts with lesson 1, humans are assholes. Q taught him that, showed him that, and gave Charlie the worst parts of humanity first. Lesson 2, politics are the way to power. Look at everyone gathered here. Hadn't Q done that? Lesson 3, create no emotional attachments. That was the one rule Q never managed to follow, and neither did Charlie. Maybe that's why they were here now. Lesson 4, everything gets destroyed. Lesson 5, trust nobody. Lesson 6, hold your ground against authority. Lesson 7, seek successful revenge because if you fail, the consequences will be bitter. Charlie says that he will not fail because they have one thing in common. Through everything they've been through, the same person ruined their lives. Not Dream, not Purple, but Quackity. He says Quackity is not a good person, and ends with this. It's like you said in Lesson 8, Quackity. Legacy is all you leave behind in this world. I hope you leave behind a good one, before pushing Q off the balcony and taking one of his canon lives. His second canon life, I believe, as Q is still around. We get a small cut to the scene of Charlie and Quackity sitting in his bedroom, repeating the line, "The house always wins." And as Quackity hits the ground, the next shot we see is Q reading from a book, addressed to my dear friend, presumably Charlie, or more. The book talks about how Quackity wants to repair their friendship, despite their past feuds. He walks through the blown-up Lemanberg, Las Nevadas, even Techno's cabin. The book is placed in multiple chests, several copies of it, outside of Konoko, outside of Technoblade's cabin, everywhere there was a friend he left behind, a friend he failed to keep. And the book ends with, sincerely, Quackity from Las Nevadas, the way Charlie always referred to him. Foolish asks him what's next, and Q simply says he has one chance left, one life, and he doesn't intend to waste it. He says they're going to pick this place up from the ground and put that factory to use, the ones with the slimes. He says they're going to make sure that Las Nevadas stays for centuries to come. And we can hear Quackity announcing the grand reopening.
Wow.
And that's kind of Quackity's end of the arc, and that explains why he had ghosted Wilbur during his departure. He was dealing with this at the time.
What an ending.
And now, let's rewind a bit. What was going on with that egg?
Oh.
I haven't talked about it since part 1, but it's still been going on throughout all of this.
Last time you were like, it's about to hatch. Like,
Yeah,
that's
so
what
the last time we
Empire
left
said.
off was the Red Banquet, where the Eggpire was chased off, and Pro Omelet, like Puffy, Sam, Q, all of that had gotten control of the egg and, like, sealed it off. And that's where we've left it.
Yes.
So now we're gonna and cover the egg along with this timeline I've already talked to you about,
Okay.
in which I'm gonna drink some tea.
Okay.
4 months after its containment, the egg remained contained without causing any problems. Sam was hoping to move the egg to a bank that he was building in order to secure it better. He requested Tommy's help with finding any vulnerable spot near the egg to uproot it. And during their experiments, Tommy discovered the egg's protective capabilities and found that he could no longer break the egg without taking damage. So now, after everything that's happened to it, the egg, like, will start, like, you touch it and it's like, pacha!
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's fighting back.
Sam's armor, the thorn.
Yeah, the Thorns enchantment.
Yeah.
Right. In the beginning of March, Foolish reported that he saw vines in a forest he was building next to, and said that he had never seen those ones before, that they were new. He then later saw vines on top of his other builds, including the XD statue. He, along with Puffy, took the vines down, and Foolish even confronted Bad to see if he was the one who spread the vines. But Bad denied any involvement with the egg after the Red Banquet, seemingly implying that with it sealed up, he was once again somewhat freed from its control. Like, the distance from it had kind of almost brought him back to normal. Soon after that, Sam came to the egg room just to see it and check on it, and found the vines were as healthy as ever. He feels to blame that he never finished the bank that he was going to use to contain the egg, or find a way to move it without it regenerating. Bad also commented that the egg can reproduce from spores left by the vines. Anywhere that the vines grow has a chance of leaving behind spores and growing more eggs, or just regenerating it if this current egg is destroyed.
What even, like...
So they have to do a full extermination if they want to get rid of it.
Oh my word.
Yep. You've been real curious about this egg.
Yes.
You've been asking me some questions, and you know what? We're gonna talk about it. So introducing the next arc. Sam Bucket isn't real. He can't hurt you.
We're talking about this one.
Sam Bucket. See, Sam Bucket is our local crazy man. Or, well, one of many local crazy men. At some point in time, which appears to be a long time before Bad ever discovered the egg, Sam Bucket began hearing voices and found the blood vines in a ravine he had been mining in. While digging further, it was there he discovered the source of these voices. The egg. After studying it for some time and listening to its whispers, he discovered the egg was trying to communicate with him. As Sam Bucket listened, he began to develop a connection to it, since it promised to give him whatever he wanted. He wanted to share the discovery of the egg with his friends, with his village, but after telling them of it, only some of his friends approved of the egg, while others were concerned and tried to stop the egg's growth. Eventually, Sam Bucket became so frustrated that they wanted to stop the egg, a thing he cared about, that it led to him doing things he quotes as being not proud of. Sam Bucket first makes his appearance on the server and runs into BBH on March 27th, 2022. Now our boy SB here was clearly mentally deranged, okay, and showed an odd obsession with buckets, demanding them quite often. Alright, he's the new Stanley Parable. He also seemed prone to violence, but could be easily distracted by a bucket. Eventually, BBH got enough of the crazy man, okay, and lured him toward the prison, locking him inside an obsidian cage. Amazingly, not a few minutes later, Sam was out of the cage and returned the obsidian blocks to BBH. Intrigued by this, Bad repeated the process with a thicker cage, and once again, Sam Bucket escaped the moment BBH looked away.
Damn.
Despite trying to get Sam Bucket to go away several times, he only did so once Bad helped him secure an entire inventory full of water buckets. Bad attempted to tell our local warden Sam Nook about this. Not Sam Nook, Normal Sam!
Sam.
Normal Sam! About Sam Bucket, but he wasn't believed. Okay?
Aww.
Once again, a few days later, he runs again into the infamous Sam Bucket. Okay? And Bad decides to tail him. To find some proof that he was real and definitely not a hallucination. He followed him into the forest near Las Nevadas, coming across a clearing with a fountain and several graves, to which Sam Bucket had left some of those water buckets he'd gotten from Bad at each one. 2 of the graves had Bad and Foolish's names on them. Bad tried to leave but was spotted by Sam Bucket and chased to his mansion. At some point, Bad lost track of him only to turn around and get knocked out. After this, Bad once again tried to prove Sam Bucket's existence to normal Sam by leading him to the clearing in the forest. But only the fountain was there, graves notably missing. Sam once again didn't believe Bad and managed to convince him that, he had just been hallucinating. And on April 20th, 2022, Sam meets Sam.
Sam meets Sam.
I take a shot every time I say
Sam.
Sam.
Bucket meets Sam.
Yep. Concerned with Bad's mental health, especially since the egg had pretty much been sealed up, Sam went to the egg's room to check if it was trying to possibly possess Bad again. When he arrived, he found that the vines had regrown completely. After exploring more of the room, he found a dark tunnel, hidden behind the vines and sort of behind the egg. Sam began investigating the tunnel and while doing so found many messages drawn on the wall, such as never go anywhere without your bucket and always bring your bucket, as well as chests with journal entries that explained Sam Bucket's discovery of the egg. However, since the journals were written in first person and were unsigned, Sam assumed that Bad had mined these tunnels and wrote the books. Continuing down, Sam discovered a room with gravestones, similar to the one Bad had found in the forest previously, except underground. Like the one Bad found in the forest, all the stones had buckets, with 2 of them having signs for Bad and Foolish. However, unlike what Bad ran into, there was no water fountain. In the room, Sam found 3 more books written by Sam Bucket. One book explained that the egg promised them things in return for helping it grow. The second book explained Sam Bucket's experience with sharing the egg to their friends. And the third book explained that it was the egg's influence spread with the help of Sam Bucket's tunnels. So that's how the vines keep showing up in random places like Hannah's house, Punz's tower, how they got underground and beneath the glass and into the ruins of Lemanberg. So it's been through these tunnels that are spread beneath the entire server, right?
At least you know the
Sam,
things.
Still believing that these books had been written by Bad, thought he had mined the tunnels while under the influence of the egg. He continued down further and found a small wooden house that he entered. There, Sam found 4 more journals in a chest. The books detailed the growth of the vines on the surface, and Sam Bucket's friends' responses, as well as entries that detailed a story similar to Bad Boy Halo's. Some of Sam Bucket's friends wanted to destroy the vines and stop the spread, so he recruited friends that were supportive of the egg to stop the others. Sam Bucket, desperate to keep spreading the influence, managed to take care of the troublemakers in the end, implying that he had wiped out those in his village who hadn't agreed and killed them. Sam panicked and began moving his way out. However, he spotted a blood vine outside of the house and decided, against his better judgment, to investigate. He found a dark tunnel behind the vine, once again sprawling deeper, and after gaining some sight of the end, he saw a blood vine-ridden tunnel with a bright red portal at the end. Sam Bucket was momentarily seen but disappeared. Regardless, Sam decided to get closer and investigate the portal. After reading one of the journals, he turned around and came face to face with Sam Bucket, who is described to have a similar appearance to Sam, but has like a bucket over his head.
Oh my.
Alright. Sam Bucket, startled, begins chasing after him, you know, and Sam eventually found an exit that led him near Bad and Skeppy's mansion, losing sight of our Bucket friend. After surfacing, Sam ran into Bad Boy Halo, who's on the prime path. Bad expressed confusion and claimed that Sam had been just behind him a few seconds ago. Sam told Bad that, dude, you were right, the weird bucket man is real, okay, and explained his experience in the tunnel. He then showed Bad Boy Halo the trap door that, like, went into BBH's and Skeppy's mansion, as well as the books to prove his existence. Bad questioned the fact that he had never noticed a trap door that was so close to his home. He wanted to explore the tunnel and figure out more, but Sam stopped him and said that they needed to go in prepared to remove the egg. And to kind of explain some of what's going on here, like with Limbo, Sam Bucket too appears to have a weird sort of time dilation going on around him, where if you're next to Sam Bucket, minutes or hours could pass, well, for the rest of the world it's only seconds. So he has like a time dilation that follows him. So hence why Bad Boy Halo was like, weren't you just behind me? Even though Sam had spent like a good hour or so exploring these tunnels. So hence that time dilation.
Wow.
This also explains Sam Bucket randomly disappearing and how he was able to escape from Bad Boy Halo's obsidian cages so quickly. Like he got that time funk, right? And on June 3rd, 2022, now this is surprisingly anticlimactic here, Foolish is the one to destroy the egg after finding out he didn't take damage from it. So although he lost his immortality, he had gained almost a different kind of invincibility toward it. And he destroyed it with a bolt of lightning. Because, you know, he's a divine boy. He got that...
Got access to...
Like Breath of the Wild, summon it.
Nah.
And the egg is destroyed. Right? And on September 9th, 2022, Sam and Bad Boy Halo enter the egg room and were shocked to find it gone. As they go to look for people to figure out what happened, Sam Bucket once again appeared, and he began chasing Bad into the house Sam saw before, the wooden one within the tunnels. Bucket on his head, chasing after him, right? Like a man possessed, okay? And right outside Sam Bucket's house, like as Bad was running into it to hide from him, there is a room that he can get a glimpse into that contains the egg. Although Foolish had destroyed it with a bolt of lightning, it hadn't been a full extermination. There were still vines everywhere.
It's an infection.
Yep. So that red vine Sam saw outside of Sam Bucket's house had produced spores and the egg had regrown. And Bad even confirms that is not a new egg, but the original one that had just kind of regrown there after being destroyed. Once Bad was inside the house, my boy SB seemingly disappeared, right? And reading the same diary entries that Sam did, he learned more about the history of Sam Bucket and the egg. Sometime before Bad had discovered it, Sam Bucket had found the egg first, and came to be fond of it because it promised to bring back Sam Bucket's dead dog, Francis. However, After some time, SB realized that the egg was lying. It was never going to bring back his dog until he started resisting it. He discovered that iron provided some level of resistance to the egg's control, and began wearing a bucket on his head in an attempt to contain the egg's influence.
Oh my
Sam Bucket buried the egg into what would later be known as the egg room, where Bad Boy Halo discovers it. And it was then SB approached Bad, startling him out of reading his books, and it was then that Bad realized Sam Bucket wasn't trying to kill him or scare him. He was an ally trying to warn them of the egg the whole time, but had lost most of his mental capacity due to its control.
Yeah.
Hence him just like chasing them around and demanding buckets. He was trying to show them how to stay safe.
Aww.
Little guy, my sweet baby. Why is every other guy named Sam and not cool but you, buddy boy? Redemption. Think about what you did in Pandora's vault. Okay,
He's still there.
He's put in timeout. He's in the corner. No one puts baby in the corner. Right. Sam Bucket then, provided Bad with his own bucket and some iron blocks they could use to hopefully permanently seal the egg. The two began blocking off the entrances to the new egg room, and while blocking the last entrance, Sam Bucket separated himself from Bad and walled himself in with the egg. Presumably to make sure, nobody would break it, or because he knew his mind was too broken. He would stay here with the egg. We do, however, Bad confirms that Sam Bucket lives to haunt us another day. Okay?
That's alright.
Don't worry, Bucket Man is here to stay.
Okay.
And let's talk about some scheduling and cancellation issues, okay?
Right.
Real talk for a minute.
Real world.
There was a lot more info planned for this series. For Rambu's storyline, there's some things left unanswered. For the egg, there's a lot of things that were planned for that we never got to see. Carl, too, has his own spin-off series that was planned to have way more episodes to it. Dream SMP itself, everything I've told you guys so far, is considered Season 1. It was planned to have, a Season 2, but due to all the scheduling issues, the members going off and doing different things or getting canceled, we never got more content on the series. So that's why some things will be left answered, a lot with the egg being one of them. And I'm not sure, this bit is canon. Because again, Dream SP was kind of canceled and never got a second season. But we do find out what was in the egg. See, as part of a suicide prevention charity, a streamer whose name I forgot because apparently I didn't write it down.
Wow.
It's presumed that he hatched from the egg. The egg hatched and it was him. And he had all the memories of the egg, but not really its malicious intent. And he kind of roamed around for a while, but I don't think that's canon because that was for a charity event after the series had ended.
You add that in for what?
Yeah, I added that in just to discuss, hey, we're never gonna really find out what was happening with the egg.
Okay.
Right. But presumably there is possibly a person inside it. And this is where we get into what is called Project Early Dawn on November 10th, 2022. See, that's what's been going on with the egg this whole time, right? So we've jumped back to present day, where we are in our usual timeline. Okay. Back with my beautiful son, Tommy, okay?
Yay!
Tommy and Tubbo met up in Tubbo's old house, the one that Tommy had been using as his base, and Tommy said that he felt like it was a never-ending battle with Dream, and that keeping him alive after the disconfrontation and final waltz was a mistake. Even if he did bring Wilbur back, Wilbur was gone now, and it didn't matter anymore. He wanted to kill Dream, and he wanted Tubbo's help. And Tubbo, despite all his apprehensions and his hesitance before, readily agrees this time. Right? Tommy showed Tubbo a room below his bunker where he had been hiding the previous months. He had made potions of invisibility there, which he had used to stay in the shadows and out of the spotlight. He'd been there to witness the end of Las Nevadas and knows Dream is hiding in Pandora's vault. The two kind of parted ways after that to gather some more supplies, right? Tubbo met up with Eryn, got some gear and potions from him. You know, Aaron's gonna help out his buddy boy Tommy, and buddy boy Tommy's new friend, therefore my friend by association, yeah!
You got hype there.
Hype!
Cool.
And meanwhile, Tommy went to visit Wilbur's memorial in the ruins of New Lemanberg, and just there he met Phil.
Huh.
Tommy admitted to Phil that he was going to do something dangerous, and this might be the last time they talk to each other. This conversation might be a goodbye. And he doesn't tell Phil the details, but Phil, kind of realizing what he's gonna do, gives Tommy his own armor to wear, as well as an enchanted golden apple as his last gift.
Aww.
Tommy and Tubbo meet up again at their bench and sat together while listening to one of the discs. They agreed to meet again the following day, which would be November 11th, to try and put an end to it all. And so on November 11th, 2022, Tommy and Tubbo met up again at Tommy's house this time and went over the preparations. Tommy assured Tubbo that Dream would be at the prison, and they left to ambush him there. Along the way, Tommy took a detour to visit Sam Nook. He asked him not to leave the hotel and to live his own life. Tommy didn't need him to take care of him anymore. Sam Nook could do what he'd like to do. Sam Nook agreed and bid Tommy goodbye.
Aww.
They managed to sneak into the prison, which was now overrun by plants and dripstone taken back by nature. They quickly found Dream, and despite the struggle, managed to kill him, taking his last canon life.
Without any struggle? Wait, what do you mean?
It was almost surreal, Logan. The SMP's biggest villain. And now he was gone. Surprisingly easy between the two of them.
That's it.
It was the disc concentration gone right this time. The two left the prison still on the high of actually winning. They started making plans. They could have their own nation, a redo of their failed attempt at working together in New Lemanberg, as Tommy had been Tubbo's vice president then. Tubbo insisted that said new nation should be on the moon, in which this kid invented nukes. I'm pretty sure he can invent space travel, okay? I fully believe he could do it. They went around informing people of Dream's death before eventually coming upon Puns. And Puns, intrigued by Dream's death and their parental plans for a moon nation, asked to show them something. He leads the two deeper into his house, and you see, the thing about killing the worst guy on the server is you kind of have to make sure you take out his allies too.
Oh.
And Puns, revived book in hand, brings Dream back.
Puns had the book this whole time?
Yup. See, the disc confrontation, it had all kind of been part of Dream's plan. Getting locked up, not really, but he had a backup plan in case. Puns showing up at the end of disc confrontation saying, "I'm sorry, Dream, you should have paid me more," was a front, a lie. Dream had passed the revive book to him, so even if he was locked up, he had the contents memorized, and now Puns had it too. And it was always planned for Dream to break out. It was always planned. Puns still working with him the whole time.
This whole time?
The whole time!
What?
Right? Between the two of them, Tubbo and Tommy were unfortunately overpowered and made to surrender, spared for now, as the four dragged their way back to Pandora's vault. Once they arrived in the prison, Tommy and Tubbo were forced to hand over their items and everything in their inventory, including any items in their ender chests as well that they might have saved. However, Tommy managed to secretly keep the discs hidden, right? And since Dream thought they had been destroyed. He had watched Wilbur burn them. So he doesn't realize Tommy still has them.
True.
Right?
Oh.
Dream and Puns then made Tommy and Tubbo drop into an obsidian platform suspended in a hidden room above lava, eerily similar to the one Purple had built during his fight with Quackity. Where Dream said it was time for a monologue and some questions to be answered. See, Dream and Puns went on to explain that their goal was to learn and understand everything about the world and its mechanics, about death. And they had to live forever to be able to do that. That's why they staged the disc confrontation, to make it seem like Puns had betrayed Dream, so nobody would think that they had to kill both of them at the same time in order to kill one permanently. As long as at least one lived, they could bring the other one back. Yeah. Okay.
What a plot twist. What? Oh.
The problem was, the world, it didn't like being messed with. After many revivals in which they had kidnapped 2 random members of the server and just kind of killed them and revived them over and over again to see what would happen. So they've been hosting experiments on 2 random members of the server who they never get mentioned after this.
Okay.
But after doing that so many times, they had caused an imbalance and a corruption that threatened the very existence of reality. Right? They had used the revival book too many times. Death was no longer permanent, and now the world might end. To fix this, they had to kill people to balance it out, to even the number of revivals and deaths. And they decided that their plan, since it would turn the entire server against them, they would just kill anyone who didn't want to join. The reason Tommy and Tubbo had been taken to the prison was to make them take part in a limbo experiment. Dream and Puns wanted to figure out what kind of limbo somebody would have if they died while being selfless.
So like you said, from the rest of everybody that was in limbo.
Wilbur wanted to die. Schlatt had been a dictator. MD, even his death he was just a chaotic bastard.
Drunk and died from a heart attack.
Even Rambles, he was technically helping Dream escape and all of that stuff. A kind of unwilling participant here because he too was locked up. They wanted to know if limbo would change if your motives for dying were different. So
they tested out too with.
Well, why do you think they have Tommy and Tubbo?
Oh, my bad.
Dream pointed out a wooden pressure plate in the lava that one person could use to open the way for the other to escape prison. The person on the pressure plate, though, would die. And Dream and Puns left, giving them time to decide who would die and who would leave. A sort of a reiteration of the ultimatum Dream had first given Tommy during disc confrontation. Tubbo or the discs.
So it's himself
and now,
or Tubbo?
Like I said, it's Tommy or Tubbo here. And like I said, this was not the first time Tommy had been offered an ultimatum like this. During the disc confrontation, and he admitted this to Phil, he had hesitated to sacrifice his discs to save Tubbo. He does not hesitate now. Pulling out the discs he had hidden, he throws them to activate the pressure plate and get them both out of the prison without a casualty, though he does lose the discs in the process, destroying them.
Good riddance. They've been going
So the discs,
back and forth.
Both Cat and Mellow High are gone, but Tommy still has Tubbo.
That's all that matters.
And now, this next part, we're getting into the finale. The events I'm about to describe to you, and this is for the fans as well, hear me out. Once again, see my vision, peer into my mind. Hear me out. The song Inkpot Gods by The Amazing Devil. Tubbo as the male vocals, Tommy as the female. That song as this finale, Tell Me I'm Wrong. tell me I'm wrong. You can't because I'm a genius. Animators, I've appealed to the fanfic writers. Animators, hear my plea. Deliver this on to me. I need it. Oh my god. Okay.
Alright.
Now the finale.
Okay.
So, Tommy at this rate felt like there was nothing they could do to stop Dream and Puns from killing everyone. But Tubbo convinced him to follow him to Snowchester as he had a safe place for them to hide there. Tubbo showed Tommy the silo, the site of Project Early Dawn, and the nukes he had built in Snowchester for a situation just like this.
Finally had
His
to
precautionary measure has now
gosh.
become more than cautionary.
They can finally use
Alright.
Tubbo's nukes.
So he explains how this remaining nuke, it was what he wanted to like reverse engineer into a rocket in order to get them to the moon. So my guy had already kind of invented space travel, he just hadn't done it yet. Wild. But the nuke itself was unstable, and it would take at least 21 hours to prime it for launch. Tommy got the idea to launch the nuke at the prison to kill Dream and Puns at the same time so they could not revive each other. And to keep Dream and Puns in that prison, to distract them and hold them there, Tommy would go to the prison and stall. This would kill Tommy too, if it succeeded. But the nuke would also kill Dream and Puns. And that to him was a more than worthy sacrifice. Tommy and Tubbo opened the project's doors and primed the nuke for the next day. The following day, on November 13th, 2022, Jack received an alert on the nuke status indicator, his NSI. After all, he too had been working on the nuke project. He would have access to that information, making him aware that Tubbo had activated one of Snowchester's nukes. He made his way to Snowchester, where he discovered Project Early Dawn. He was surprised and impressed when he saw the ICBM, thinking that Tubbo had armed the nukes for a conflict that Tommy had inevitably started with Dream, which he wasn't wrong about that, just for the wrong reasons. He believed that Tubbo had notified him of the launch so that Jack would intervene and kill Tommy. After all, Jack hasn't really been secret about his motivations here. He changed the nuke's impact location to Tommy's house, hoping that if he killed Tommy, Dream would just leave everyone else alone. And a little bit here, remember, oh wait, no, we will get into that.
Okay.
Never mind. So later that day, Tommy and Tubbo discussed their plan and said their final goodbyes. Before leaving, Tommy told Tubbo about a book he had left in Tubbo's old house, which he had to read after their plan was successful. Tommy also allowed Tubbo to take the bench and jukebox near Tommy's house with him. And after a last fist bump, Tommy left to go to the prison. Upon entering, Tommy searched and eventually found Dream and Puns in the prison's main cell. They were confused that Tommy had come back, and Tommy lied, saying he was there to kill them both. Puns initially tried to leave, but Tommy managed to make him stay by fighting him and blocking off the exit. He tried to stall for time by asking Dream about his point of view on the server, and Dream explained that the only thing he wanted was more knowledge. When Tommy said that Dream could have been friends with him instead, Dream replied that Tommy had ruined that chance a long time ago, when Tommy first joined the server and simply by existing broke all of Dream's little rules. Tommy believed the Dream had always been the same, always been this man, that he had only ever wanted power, asking him how he could talk about death like it was nothing. And Dream stated that, well, death meant nothing. One moment Tommy could be alive, and the next he could be dead. And to demonstrate that, he killed Tommy. Every single death Tommy has ever had on this server was Dream. In the meantime, while this is going on, Tubbo had gone to Snowchester, where he encountered Jack at Project Early Dawn. And it was there Tubbo admitted and revealed to Jack that he had been responsible for the missing Nuke all that time ago. See, he, suspecting Jack's motivation, had secretly grabbed one of them and hidden it away, using it to build the ICBM, which is like what he's been using for Project Early Dawn. So he had lied to Jack in order to stall him while hiding one of them. He said that it had been an accident, that Jack had been alerted about the nuke since everything was still connected to the old systems. Tubbo explained his and Tommy's plan to Jack, and which made Jack, excited to launch the nuke. They went down to the silo to prepare to launch it, and under pressure from Jack, Tubbo activated the nuke's thrusters and armed the nuke's payload. After much deliberation and prompting by Jack, he launched it. And immediately after launch, Jack realized that Tubbo had said Tommy was in the prison with Dream, and therefore would not be in his house. He admitted to Tubbo that he had changed the nuke's impact location, setting Tubbo into a panic because the nuke was unstable and was going to splinter into multiple capsules. If one of the capsules would hit too early, it would change the direction of the other ones and it could destroy the entire goddamn server. And he actually, and I quote, said, it needed to be a direct shot. It probably wouldn't even destroy the prison. They're all just going to be sat there on their asses and Dream and Punt are going to live. Jack, you have single-handedly doomed everything on this server.
Oh my word.
Jack said that he had just wanted everyone to be friends and that Tommy had prevented this. And Tubbo, realizing that the nuke would most likely not hit the prison, realized they had to go there and help Tommy. Their plan was currently failing as they speak, and Tommy was now there with Dream and Puns at that moment. Alright, he told Jack that they had to go to the prison to help him, that Dream was the one to blame for everything, not Tommy. It's not a child's fault that this guy had just taken a liking to tormenting him. Jack apologized for what he'd done and joined him to warn and hopefully save Tommy. Tubbo and Jack were attempting to reach the main cell, but got stuck, as they had no keycard to access any of the prison's mechanisms. They heard the alarm signifying the nuke's approach, causing Tubbo to lose hope. He placed down Tommy's and his bench and invited Jack to sit down with him, pointing out that the prison would have automatically sealed the doors going into another lockdown, that there was nothing they could do. They could not go deeper into the prison, but they could not get out. Jack attempted to keep fighting, but he did not get far. Now, Tommy, after Dream had killed him, had only been in limbo for a moment before he was pulled once again back to life. And during this little thing in limbo, it's implied that he kind of got to see Dream's past before the server became what it was, when it was just him, George, and Sap and their little thing, and it shows Dream before the power lust, the hunger. And while they try to go a sympathetic villain route with it, I'm not sure it holds.
Not now.
Dream made his choices. He can't be mad that he's facing the consequences of his own actions. He cut off his friends. He targeted Tommy. He continually was the instigator. He brought this on himself. Once Tommy was back, rather than re-engage battle, both him and Dream just seemed exhausted. How long had they been doing this? 2 years, back and forth, neither of them winning. Dream admits that he missed the people he abandoned for power. That he didn't want to be alone. Tommy told Dream that he agreed. He'd felt that way before. And Dream voices a wonder, a thought. If perhaps it might not be too late for them to do as Tommy said. Be friends. Work together. At that moment, the sirens of the nuke sounded, making Dream and Puns panic and attempt to leave the room. Tommy wasn't fighting, though. He stood still and merely said that Dream was right. It was too late for any friendship, any camaraderie these two might have had. He didn't know if him and Dream could have ever been friends. in any moment in time. But he was sorry. And the nuke hit the prison. Tommy, Tubbo, Dream, Puns, and Jack presumably all died in the explosion, and Pandora's vault was completely destroyed in the process. It is unknown if there were any other casualties or if any other major landmarks were destroyed by the capsules, as Tubbo had been unsure what the exact effect of Jack's tampering had been. The known survivors were Phil, Nikki, Connor's ghost, and Rosie the sheep, as the syndicate had been together at the time the nuke was launched. Phil and his companions were swept into the arms of his wife Kristen, and taken somewhere in the end to protect them. They were not the only souls spared, however. Kristen seemingly took pity on Rambo as a boy she had gotten to know through Phil's eyes, and offered him another chance. Death herself would pardon him, bring him back to a peaceful life within the Nether. Only one thing from his old life could remain with him, and Rambo chose his son. Presumably him and Michael live together in the Nether, safe from the nuke's damage. Seeing Kristen for the first time was actually such an amazing scene, where Phil, well, around Techno's cabin with Nikki and Connor's ghost, starts hearing her voice in his head, telling him to run, he needed to go, it wasn't safe, and he's like looking around for her, and it is then for the first time we see her physically. More than a voice in Phil's mind, more than a ghostly touch and kiss, she is there. Physical. She can't maintain it for long, but she's there just enough to grab the syndicate and whisk them away into the end, safe from the damage. And now, well, Tubbo never got the chance to read the book Tommy left for him, we do get to know what it says. To Tubbo. Hey man, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. Look, I know I wasn't perfect, but you were. You are the best friend I could have asked for, and playing on this world with you has changed my life. Even through all the wars, through everything, having you by my side made life so goddamn amazing. Thank you, jerk. Bye-bye, B-boy.
B-boy?
And we reach one final story. One more perspective that is happening at the exact same time Tommy and Tubbo are dealing with Dream and the nuke. And I've titled this section, If Gods Can Bleed, Gods Can Die. After a birthday party for Puffy, Eryn made her way back to her museum with Foolish. She admitted to feeling guilty about the Red Banquet, as Foolish had died in an attempt to protect Eryn. They said that Dream was always going to be the big bad of the server, but taking him down would be difficult. Interestingly, Foolish disagreed. What Dream did wasn't the issue. He was just the puppet. As much as he liked to talk about control, he had always been the one on the strings. Some kind of mortal incarnation of XD. As long as XD remained in control, they would never win. See, XD is the head of the Pantheon. He is the most powerful known being in this reality, and as such, is able to affect it, to alter the world and reality itself, just as Dream always tried to do. As long as XD remained in control, he could just reset the server back to the beginning if things ever tried to get out of hand, or if they ever tried to stop him. The two agreed that maybe fighting God wasn't possible. A suicide mission, but that at the very least, they could try.
Foolish and Eryn went to Eryn's castle, where the other server members were waiting for them, those who had agreed to fight. And they had formed a little round table. They explained to the others who Dream XD was. And Foolish said he wasn't sure where he was located, though. Eryn, who, however, held the answer to that. See, this museum wasn't just building statues or recreations of the server. It was finding ruins, items, books left behind in the area, not just from them, but from anyone who had ever lived here. And with those came some ancient texts that mentioned a terrible power that lived within the end, likely XD. And Eryn pointed out how somehow every single person who had ever come to this area instinctually knew to avoid that portal, to never go through, to never even mention or talk about it.
Because it was banned.
XD's domain. It wasn't something Dream had banned them from, but something they didn't even perceive. A sort of haze applied to every member of the server.
Because you said that was the end of Minecraft.
Mm-hmm. Some server members left, as they were unable or unwilling to help, while others decided to stay. Eryn showed them all the armor they had prepared, and everyone suited up and traveled to a stronghold that Eryn had excavated in the past, one that Techno and Phil had actually first discovered.
Oh.
And that is where they actually first met XD. Though not much interactions with it happened aside from Techno shit-talking Dream. It was there that they activated the end portal and jumped in. And rather than coming out the other side to the end like one would expect, this great floating island of sandstone, obsidian towers into the air, the ender dragon circling above, protecting her egg. That is what you would expect to find.
Yes.
But that was not what was waiting for them. They arrived in a different dimension entirely. Our god's domain. This sort of pale white world. A spinning clock on the floor where all of them had come out from. And XD himself, true form in all his glory.
What?
He was there and mocked them for challenging him, since he was unable to play with them himself at the time. But they'd come here and worked so hard. He teleported them all the way to a different location, one with many difficult enemies that were summoned by XD. Foolish, with his divinity, his immortality, and the most powerful person in the group, took the brunt of the battle as everyone fought. And even after the enemies were defeated, it was still not the end. See, that was more a little test, and XD decided that, you know what, if they've bested his little minions, if they still lived, perhaps they'd earned the right to his presence. Foolish taunted XD, told him to come down and fight them himself, but he merely laughed. He pointed out how he had been the one to give Foolish his immortality, that divinity he was so proud of, and he could take it back anytime he so pleased. There was no hope. There was no escape. Did you really think you could kill a god? And it was during this that XD glanced toward the sky, seeing something they could not. He claimed that they had distracted him long enough. It was too late for the server anyway. While this had been amusing, he was very excited to see what they'd do in the next life. And at the exact same moment, the nuke hit the ground. The world reset. And there was one final scene.
Yeah.
The two it had always circled around, Tommy and Dream. Tommy standing in a field of grass. No cities, no nations, no monuments, no memories of who he had known, loved, and lost. And on a hill, beside a tree, his Dream. Not scarred, no mask, no threats and manipulation, just
the man he was. The man he should have learned how to be. And Tommy, always sociable, always kind, always the light and sun that infected and inspired the server, walked over, held out his hand, and said, "Hi, I'm Tommy. Would you like to be friends?"
Aww.
Dream, confused and bewildered by this blonde, approached him, took his hand, allowed himself to be pulled up, and agreed. And the final scene is Tommy glancing down the hill, and there is another boy. One he should know, but doesn't. He asks Dream if he knows who it is, but Dream has no idea either. And as there he walks down the hill to the person he has always been walking toward. And the story ends, Tommy, Tubbo, and Dream. The two of them versus him, now perhaps with him. And that is the finale. That is how it ends.
I never heard that ending.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
And there is a little more to this that I'm going to tell you about. That is the end. See, with the reveal that XD has been resetting reality, and presumably the whole thing we've just watched wasn't the first time XD had played with these characters, had watched their story. This was just one of many we were seeing. It introduces the idea of almost previous reincarnations, previous realities. And this brings in previous servers as well. See, after DreamSMP ended, Quackity went on to do his own thing, QSMP. And there is possibly, it is possibly implied that QSMP could exist within the same universe as DreamSMP. As there is a scene where Wilbur is talking to Quackity, and he looks at him and says, "I feel like in a past life, we would have been enemies." So sure and confident, even though Quackity has no idea who he is. So perhaps QSMP is another reset, another reality. It's also possible that Earth SMP, which is what some of the members were doing before DreamSMP was canon. And that's kind of where Tommy and Tubbo solidified their friendship. It was where Phil and Techno met and established the Arctic Empire. So whether or not that was a previous reality, it seems to more mainly be implied that it was just events that happened in the past before they kind of moved over to DreamSMP. But yeah, that is the end. That is the finale. You've made it.
Wow.
You've made it.
Oh my goodness. Are you? Wow.
Yeah. You've done it.
I don't know what to say.
Right? Alright. Thank you so much to anyone who made it this far and watched the extent of this series. Beware, for this is not the end. Well, this is the end of the main storyline and the lore. I will be covering Carl's side series, Tales of the SMP. As that too contains some major lore of the series. It kind of explains what he was doing throughout all of this. So, that too is gonna happen. Don't worry.
That sounds so fun.
And I will put this all out, and if it gets enough attention, I might put all the parts together into a single movie. But we've done it. We've made it. We've gotten through one of my top 5, possibly top 3 obsessions.
I now know the lore.
A story near and dear to my heart. That you clearly have been heavily indoctrinated into, considering the Technoblade cosplay. Clearly, you've very much been fond of this. And
I had fun. It was so great hearing about this. I feel bad that I was in part of when this is all happening.
I know, God,
I missed out.
Yeah, right. I grabbed you and I was like, you're mine.
Oh, finally.
But no.
Wow.
This...
What do I say?
Thank you. I will see you guys in another video or another Lorecast.
Bye.
Give me requests for what you want me to cover. Who knows, I might do QSMP next, which I never got into.
We should.
Believe it or not. Like, I know
Why
kind of
not?
what happened, because, with quacking. Okay.
Do it.
Mwah. Thank you for joining me for this Lorecast. This was...
Bye.
This is gonna be my favorite series of videos for a while.